Howdy, howdy, everybody. Now I just have to connect to the TikTok. There we go, we should be good. Connect the TikTok. Downside of having a cat is that sometimes you just have fur in your mouth. I don't know what to do about that, but that is the world we live in. Kind of annoying, but whatever, I guess. Howdy, howdy. Hey, Nekdu. Thank you for being so generous. Sending over the 5 Dr. Blitz gift memberships. That means that 5 people who have been waiting very patiently for the live stream to start just got access to the debate notes. The debate notes, which are these notes. Let me show you, because I have them pulled up because I do use them. Like, I actively do use them in these conversations. They're nice references, right? For example, these are the debate notes for the theism conversation. Lots of references, lots of arguments. Very handy to have, and now 5 more people have access to them, so congrats. And thank you, Nekdu, for sending that over. It's very much appreciated. I don't want that to be popped out. I would like you to go back in, please. Okay, there. Now it's back in. Very generous. I appreciate that. How do you know if you got a membership? Well, you would get a notification. It would say, blah, 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 just got a membership. And you have to have receiving memberships enabled on your account, so you might not have it enabled for you. Evelyn is crying. You get an email too? Okay, that's good to know. I didn't know that. Well, we did just start the live stream, so let's let some people trickle in. It'll take some time. But we should get some conversations going in a minute. Will there be a pop-up book for the debates? I don't know why that's not popping up, actually. Okay, that was weird. There will not be a pop-up book of the debate notes for baby debaters. No. No, there will not. I hate babies. All right, should we bring up our first guest? All right, let's talk to US tagged us, or us tagged us.
Hello.
Tagged, how's it going?
It's good. Are you Jewish?
In what way?
There's one way, brother.
What's the way to be Jewish?
Are you ethnically Jewish?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
It's a weird question to ask, and now he's gonna leave. Oh, okay. That's a weird question to ask. Are you Polish? Are you Polish?
Am I Polish? Yes, I am Polish.
That's what I thought.
Well, I'm not actually Polish. I'm Canadian, but have a great night.
Oh, yeah, it checks out. Have the day you deserve. That was weird. What a weird what weird way to start a conversation. All right, let's talk to Felix. Felix, how's it going?
Hello. We've been trying to contact you regarding your car's extended warranty. Want to give you a chance to renew it because it's set to expire within the next couple of days. Can I have your social security number, please?
Yeah, it's 123. Are you writing this down?
Yep.
That was the whole thing. It's a good joke. It's a good joke. All right, let's talk to Bologna. Bologna, how's it going?
Hey, I just wanted to say, you know, I know it's been a while, but I'm really glad for you that things worked out medically, and I hope that you're recovering from surgery well.
I am.
Anyway.
Do you want to have a conversation about the topic, or you just want to come on and say, wish me well?
I did want to wish you well, and I will say, like, I don't have, like, proof of God, but I have had some, like, super weird experiences that I can't explain, like, mechanistically.
Yep, that's fine. That happens to people sometimes. The only thing I would say is that just because something cannot be explained mechanistically does not mean that the explanation is God.
Right. That is true.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the only, like, if you have these weird experiences, you can just be like, yeah, these are weird experiences. I wonder what caused them. And then you don't have to assume you know the answer.
Yeah, so I was giving a woman a massage and started having these vivid hallucinations.
That's normal. It happens to all of us.
Yeah, you're funny.
I would hope so.
Yeah, no, I'd have these vivid hallucinations, and I couldn't quite, like, find any specific meaning to it. But when I described what I was seeing, she readily was able to relate that to different areas of her life.
Bologna.
Anyway, it
sounds weird. I don't know what to tell you, man, but I don't know how this means that God is real. So I'm gonna let you go, Bologna, but I do appreciate the well wishes.
all right.
Take care. All right, let's talk to Cogwork. Cogwork, how's it going? Oh, he's not here yet. Cogwork, how's it going?
Q-tip absolutely destroyed you, bro. There's clips all over the internet.
Sorry, who did?
Q-tip.
Q-tip? Aren't aren't Q-tips the things that you're not supposed to put in your ear?
He gave you his Q-tip. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
No, he did destroy you though. There's like a video of you like being destroyed by him. It's like logic and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Logic.
I'm sure. So do you want to make an argument for the God that you believe in or not?
He's saying that like you need like God for logic and like you didn't have like response.
That's a cool claim. Do you want to present an argument for the God that you believe in or not?
I'm just saying, like, there's a video of you being like destroyed, and you like start staring at the camera and like not talking, and it's like really weird.
So do you want to present an argument or not?
Like everybody in the live comments was like laughing at you, and you were like just staring. Like,
okay, well, it doesn't sound like you want to present an argument, so I'm gonna let you go, Cogwork. Thanks for being here. All right, let's bring up this guy who has a cross in the name. Hey, how's it going?
It's going amazing.
Is there a name that I should refer to you by?
Low IQ Philo.
Low IQ Philo?
Or just low IQ in general.
Okay, low IQ, gotcha. Low IQ, I take it from your username that you're a Muslim?
What? I'm not Muslim, no.
Oh, okay. Well, what religion are you?
I'm a Christian, but I'm going to be particularly arguing for a necessary being who instantiates all possible state of affairs, sir.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and make the argument.
Wait, like, what's the laugh for?
Did I laugh?
That's what I heard.
Oh, okay, well, you should get your hearing checked. Anyway, go ahead and make the argument.
Yeah, after I'm done baking, you can send me some papers on, like, Bayesian epistemology.
Go ahead and make the argument.
Yeah, so he's egoing me. Yeah, so it's going to be John Duns Scotus argument, where he wants to say that some things are really possible. Something possible. Yo, what's up with the smile, bro?
I'm a happy person.
You're a happy person. You wasn't smiling a couple minutes ago. I mean,
look, you just have a happy demeanor that brings joy to everybody you interact with.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, some things are really possible. Still smiling, bro. I didn't even get to say the next word, bro. Right.
You just bring me really joy.
Possible. Yeah, that's awesome. So some things are really possible. You know, possibility doesn't actually entail existence. So, you know, we have these set of like these state of affairs which are possible. Then, you know, for there to exist, something must be actualized, of course. Obviously, there must exist some necessary actualization to instantiate these possible state of affairs. and therefore
Just a quick
necessary
question.
being exists.
Look, so I appreciate the premise, or the premises that you're offering. I just have a question regarding premise one. Would you say that actuality
Wait, can you
possibly
tell me what
entails
premise
possible
one is saying?
actuality?
Wait, can you tell me what P1 is saying real quick?
It sounds like you were saying that possibility entails actual possibility. So can you tell me, does actuality possibly entail possible actuality?
That's just jumbo jabbo. I never said that possibility entails
sorry, what was
actual
it?
possibility.
Oh, you can't track?
That's
Okay, I
jumbo
see how it
jumbo.
is.
Yeah, I said possibility instead. Sorry, possibility is actualized. That's
Yeah.
necessary being.
Possibility is
what I said.
actualized, right? And so I was saying that actuality is possibilized. Do you not understand? Is this going over your head?
Wait, so is something actual contain any like possibility or potency?
Yeah, I would say that the potency is actualized only when the possibility is actualizing possibility.
What's the argument for that, sir?
I'm sorry, did that just go over your head? It's tautologically true.
It's what?
It's tautologically true.
It's teleologically true.
Tautologically, do you not even know what a tautology is?
So it's tautologically true. That's
Yeah. So it just went over your head. I guess you're just getting bent over backwards in this conversation, huh? Just getting completely slapped, completely baked. You've been put in the oven at 400 degrees, and you're turning into a burnt crisp.
But anyways, usually we offer some reductio when it comes to like a meta level critique. I'm sorry.
I mean, clearly he was here to troll. I just wanted to have fun. Right. Like, I just wanted to have fun. Yeah, I should have called him a low tier. You're right. I missed the opportunity. All right, let's bring up our next guest. Okay, let's bring up Dom. Dom, how's it going? Dom? All right, looks like Dom's not here. Let's talk to Refa. Refa Taita? Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Refa, how's it going? Oh, he's not here yet. Refa, how's it going?
Great.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. Refa, do you believe in a god?
Yeah, I'm an idealist. I believe that God is reality, but reality is mental.
You believe that God is reality? Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say that you ascribe yourself to a particular religion, or generally no?
No, actually, I don't believe in religions.
Okay, so when you say that God is reality, what properties of reality... Sorry. How do I want to phrase this? Surely you recognize that you can be, like, say, an analytic idealist of some kind and also still be an atheist, right?
I don't see that, no. Atheism just denies the existence of God, and I see that denying the existence of God is equal to denying to my existence. So I cannot say that, of course.
Well, let me clarify. There are atheists who are also idealists. Do you think that they don't exist, or...?
I think that they don't understand idealism fully well.
Okay. Do you take the view... maybe I should just ask how you define what a god is.
God is a mind. Defining God is defining what a mind is.
So God is
And
just any mind?
we only know one form of mind. We don't know any other.
Is God
Which
any
is
mind,
our-
or is it a specific mind? Or is it every mind?
Any and every are not relevant here. For example, we only know what a color is, what a concept is, what a feeling is, and these are different sides of what we call a mind. So
Okay,
there's
I
no...
guess what I'm getting at is, suppose that I am suppose that I hold the view that... Suppose that I'm, say, a panpsychist, and in fact, I'm even an idealist panpsychist, and so I think that consciousness is the fundamental reality of our universe, and that there are different things with each individual consciousness is instantiated in instantiates some particular object, and then those objects can come together and form larger consciousnesses, and so on. So then I would hold the view that everything is mind. I would hold the view Yeah, I would hold the view that everything is mind, but it doesn't follow that I believe in a God, right? You can be a panpsychist idealist and not hold the view that there's a God that exists. So what meaningfully is distinct between your view and the view that I'm suggesting here?
Okay, it's important first to make that differentiation between panpsychism and idealism. Panpsychism is, by the way, a materialistic
It
philosophy
doesn't have to be, right?
No, that's what I read. All panpsychists say that the mind is fundamental and it gives rise to matter, what we call matter. But at the end, matter is something and the mind is something else, and they are somehow coexisting.
Well, okay,
Or
so
property.
imagine that I'm holding a view, perhaps it wouldn't be correctly identified as panpsychism then, but perhaps I'm holding the view that there are many consciousnesses, and each consciousness, each mind, is a fundamental thing that exists, and they're the only things that exist, and they can come together to form more complex minds.
I don't know what you mean, to be honest. How do you imagine that? Give me an example.
Which part are you having?
Like, I can give you an example from our reality. We are all minds living in what we call a universe.
Mm-hmm.
But to an idealist, this universe, like, all we know about the universe is a set of experiences and ideas. And that's the axiom
Yeah, sure.
in which all...
And so you could hold that view without needing to ascribe look, so what I'm describing is some sort of reductive idealism, whereas you're describing some sort of holistic idealism.
But how do you explain the existence of reality itself if it's all mind? And if I know
reality would just be a different kind of mind, right? There's just minds of different kinds, and they behave in different ways, and the minds will join with other minds and form more complex minds.
Okay, Dr. Blitz, what do you mean by different kinds of mind? As I told you before,
your mind is different from my mind.
So my square is different from your square?
No, that's not what I said.
So our mind, we share the same concepts, we share the same feelings,
No, we
share
don't.
the same experience. We see colors, we both see colors.
To be clear, our experiences are different.
Okay, let me just complete the idea. I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know your point, but I think it's not correct for the reasons I'm going to tell you now. For example, if we look at the abstraction, the way I and you and everyone here listening to us, we make abstractions like a number or a circle or a square or a triangle or whatever. These concepts we all know the same concept. It's not that I know a square.
To be clear, that is a claim, right? You'd have a hard time verifying that. I mean, like, I probably believe it's true because I'm some sort of physicalist, but you would have a hard time if you're an idealist, especially. You'd have a hard time demonstrating that, like, your red and my red are the same thing.
So
or justifying that, rather.
My four-sided shape I call square is a three-sided shape.
Nope, I was talking about the color red.
Okay, forget the color red for now. We can
Why am I
argue
forgetting
about
the color red? This is the reductio, right?
Okay, because colors are less clear. I'm talking about something.
I agree. That's why it's the reductio.
So you agree with me on the concepts, but you don't agree with me on the colors, yeah?
Colors are a kind of concept.
So you don't agree on the concept as well?
What I'm saying is that your conception of red could very well be different from my conception of red. And if you're an idealist, you have a hard time justifying that they're the same thing. A physicalist will have a fairly straightforward way of justifying it, namely that we have the same physical brain structures, and so that's going to give rise to the same physical experience. But an idealist would have a hard time doing that.
Okay, so let's just make it step by step, not to jump steps, okay? So you do agree with me that we share the same mathematical concepts? Yeah? Yes or no?
Sure.
Perfect.
Although, actually, no. I mean, maybe some fundamental ones, but not more sophisticated ones.
Like what?
I mean, like the way that I think about, I don't know, the Weyl tensor might be different from the way that somebody else thinks about the Weyl tensor.
That's semantics. We need to
It's
define
not. It's
what a
literally not semantics. The vial tensor is a particular mathematical object, but the way that people conceptualize that mathematical object might be different.
How can you conceptualize a mathematical object different from someone else?
Because
It
people
will
connect
contradict.
ideas in different ways. Right? The
So
vial
it
tensor is
will
a complicated object, and so the way that people are going to conceptualize it, the way that people are going to try to kind of come to an intuitive understanding of what it is going to be different from person to person.
Is that like looking for on the number 9 from side it looks 6 and from another side it looks 9?
No,
Is
it's
this
not.
similar?
It's not really like that at all.
Okay, to be honest with you, I don't know the details of. I'm not a mathematician, but I think if I understand this subject, I know that you will not be correct because mathematics is so concrete in when it comes to
It's, I
concepts.
mean,
Any
like just
mathematical
speaking from
concept.
experience as somebody who has worked with mathematicians and sometimes wears the hat of a mathematician, people absolutely conceptualize these things differently. Some people will conceptualize the vial tensor as the tracery part of the Riemann tensor, and then they'll have an understanding of the Riemann tensor that builds their concept, and then other people will talk about the vial tensor as something like the tidal forces involved in gravitation, and these are different concepts even though they're pointing to the same object.
Okay, maybe I don't have time to ask ChatGPT about this, so we will move to another point. Okay, to the main point we have now, which is the fundamental point, that I am saying that the ground for reality is what I call a mind, even if it has different different experiences. Like even my red is your blue. I cannot verify that. That's impossible to verify, and that's one of the things that make the hard problem of consciousness, by the way. But at the end, it will be a color. It will not be something else that is not a color.
Unless you have
A
synesthesia.
concept. Forgive my English, it's not my mother
It's fine.
language.
It's fine. No, that's fine. Synesthesia is might call it like a brain difference that makes it so that when people will like hear colors or they will see sounds, those kinds of things.
I hear a color?
Yeah, people with
that really
synesthesia
happen?
can, yes.
And do you believe that?
This is a real thing. This is like an actual medically diagnosable thing.
I need to verify that because I cannot see someone hearing the color red in any way, to be honest.
Okay, you should look up synesthesia. I can show you if you'd like. It's fascinating, and I kind of wish I had it, to be honest, because you know it's one of those things where like yeah, I will.
If you can share a screen, yeah.
I will.
But it will be experiments, not a theory.
I'm just going to show you the Wikipedia page.
Okay.
Just how and then you can look into it deeper on your own if you want to like investigate
sure,
like what
sure.
it is. But here's the
Sure, I
Wikipedia
will.
page. It's like a real thing.
Perceptual
go ahead.
in which stimulation of one sensory pathway, synthesia, in others. Okay, though it can include other perceptions that and people are reflected.
So I can give
But
you
that's not
there
what you're
are
saying,
examples that
by
I
the
can give
way.
you. So
The
here's one.
definition is not what you're saying.
There are two overall forms of synesthesia: projective synesthesia, seeing colors, forms, or shapes when stimulated, or associative synesthesia, feeling a very strong and involuntary connection between the stimulus and the sense that it triggers. For example, in chromesthesia, sound to color, a projector may hear a trumpet and see an orange triangle in space, while an associator might hear a trumpet and think very strongly that it sounds orange.
Okay, so
So
we're
some
looking
people
at
are some people will hear a trumpet and they'll be like, that sounds orange to me. And that's certainly
Okay,
not an
Dr.
experience that
Blitz.
you have.
Dr. Blitz, we see a correlation here. Some people have a correlation between when they hear something, they connect it to another experience, but that doesn't
No, it's not another
mean
experience, it's
that
another
they are-
sense.
But trumpet is not orange. They are two different things.
Well, a
And
trumpet isn't orange to
they
you,
will-
but to people with
Neither
synesthesia,
to them.
it is.
Okay, look. I'm sure that you are misinterpreting this. This cannot mean that there is a sound for the color orange. This is I'm sorry,
That's literally
believe
what
me,
it means
no
for
offense,
synesthetes. That's
but
literally
this
what
is,
it means for synesthetes.
Okay, you need to reread this page and check the experiments and check the people who are working on this And I'm sure
I've watched
100%
I've
sure
watched
if you talk
interviews
to
from
one
these
of them,
people. This is exactly what synesthesia is. Synesthesia is
I will
a
need to
thing that
verify
happens in the
that as well,
brain
but I
where
know that
you will need to verify it. You've never heard about it before, but you're about to tell me exactly what's true about it, right?
I know that the color red does not sound anything, and it will never happen because that's an experience.
That's a
Let me
very
give you an
no,
example, okay?
that's a very ableist
Imagine
view, by
that
the way. Like that is a
Ableist?
perceptual thing that you experience, but that's not true for everybody.
No, it's like claiming that someone sees a square in a circular way. Can you imagine someone seeing a square in a circular way? Is that possible?
I can't imagine it, but it seems at least in principle
You can't
possible that they're
imagine
going to
because
have.
that's a situation.
Look, just because I can't imagine something doesn't mean it's not true. Synesthesia, like, by the
No,
way,
that's a
this is not like some fringe thing. This is a real thing. There are documentaries about it. There are hundreds of studies about it. It's actually not even that rare. It's something like 1% of the population, if I remember correctly. Like, this is a well-known thing.
But as I expected, what I read from the Wikipedia page is not saying what you're saying. But anyway, let's just move on. Let's just waste time on that either. Again, do you know any nature to our reality that we can refer to other than mentality, that other than any experience or an idea of some sort?
I don't know what the question means. Look, the reason why we were going down that
what's
line
the
of reasoning in the first place was because you take the view that there is only one mind, right? That there is just one mind, and
That there is a God.
And when I asked you, or when I suggested that you could have multiple distinct minds, you asked me, what does it mean for different minds to be distinct? And so I started bringing up different ways that they could be. You have different experiences, different sensations, etc. And you said, well, everybody experiences a square the same way. Everybody conceptualizes a square the same way. And then I said, okay, well, what about colors? Not everybody necessarily experiences colors the same way. Not everybody necessarily experiences colors the same way as I experience colors. Some of them might experience colors as sounds. So it seems like that this line of reasoning that we've gone down deconstructs your notion that you can't have multiple distinct minds. In fact, it seems like now we've arrived at the conclusion that you can have multiple distinct minds because they have different ways of experiencing the same sensations.
But I can see that we haven't reached this position because what I reach with you is that you agreed with me on the concept part, that we all must share the same concept. And when it came to colors,
but wait, no, we didn't agree on that. I brought up a specific mathematical example where people have different conceptions for the same mathematical object.
But you literally said that the fundamentals one, yeah, I remember.
Well, yeah. It might be the case. It might be the case that for sufficiently simple, like sufficiently simple ideas, it's just not a deep enough thing where there's just not enough options to have different ideas about the same thing. Right? There's just not enough ways that you could.
Right?
There's not enough depth, or there's not enough. There's not enough depth to the idea to have any different, perceptual conceptions about them. But other mathematical objects are deep enough that you can have different ideas about them. You can have different conceptions of them.
So we partly agreed, right?
But the point is if difference is possible, then that means that difference of minds is possible.
I did not agree with you that difference is possible. We just agreed.
So
that
I gave you three examples even, of how difference is possible.
One of them clearly not as you mentioned, and the other one about the Weyl tensor, I do not know any information
about it. The Weyl tensor, the fact that what you see as red, it might be different from what I see as red, and then the very obvious and very well-known example of synesthesia, which is not at all a fake thing, of where people experience sounds as colors, or people experience what we would think of as sounds and colors.
I'm sorry, the Weyl tensor is about conceiving red.
No. There were three examples. There was the Weyl tensor. There was how you and I conceive of red, and then how people with synesthesia conceive of stimuli differently than the way that we do. Three different examples.
Okay, the synesthesia example, I can see that it's not what you mentioned. I can see that there is only correlations. There is no one looking at hearing the color red. Again, I hold my point.
A sound can be orange to somebody with synesthesia.
I can't disagree more. And I think if
Okay. I mean, then you're just like you. This is something you need to look into. This is a well-studied, well-known phenomenon. And by the way, the neurobiology here is not even complicated. The neurobiology, well, okay, maybe it's complicated, but it's fairly easy to understand. It's just that the wires that, like the neurons that say connect your visual cortex are atypically connected to, say, your auditory cortex. And so when you get stimuli in your neural or in your what's it called? The optical cortex, the part of your brain that processes vision, it also stimulates the part of your brain that processes sound. And so when you get the stimulus for you would signal trumpet, or for you would signal orange, for them it might signal orange plus sound. And so they will have a different experience.
Again, that's a correlation. That's not
It's
the same thing.
occipital and temporal lobes. Thank you. It's that's literally what the experience is. The experience is that when they get a certain stimuli, they have a different experience than you do. This is not just some spurious correlation. And by the way, to say that this is definitely false, to say that this is definitely false when you just learned about this 5 minutes ago is kind of crazy.
Maybe, but claiming that the color red sounds something, I think that's. I'm sorry, no offense, no offense, but that's nonsense. I don't think that a color would ever sound like.
You know what else is nonsense? It's also nonsense to say that, you can say hello in any way other than hello.
How is that related to?
Sorry, what's your first language?
Arabic.
Okay, how do you say hello in Arabic?
Marhaba.
Oh no, that's nonsense. No, the only way to say hello is hello.
And you think that is related to my argument about color having a sound?
It's literally the same analogy, yeah. Because like what you just said isn't hello. The only thing that is hello is hello. What do you mean you have this other way of communicating hello? That's crazy.
I can't imagine someone come and tell me, well, I can see a rounded square. That's exactly what you're saying.
And I can't imagine anybody saying hello in a different way.
That's a language. That's not a concept. That's a language.
You think that language isn't conceptual?
Language is conceptual, but it's not a concept. It doesn't have a definitive.
You don't think that like words are concepts?
What do you think the difference between a language and mathematics? Can you tell me?
Mathematics is a language.
What's what difference between the language of mathematics and the language that we invent?
We invent mathematics too.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there is a fundamental difference between what we call mathematics and what we call a language.
Okay, what's the difference?
A language is a concept that we create, and we create a relation, an arbitrary relation between this word that we call a concept and this thing, like what I call a cat that we a word that we both agree on, and then we both agree that this word will refer to this four-legged animal that we see.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the
sounds like you're describing mathematics too.
It has a structure. No, it has an internal structure that no one can arbitrarily choose. It's
I guess you didn't know that that's the whole business of foundations of mathematics, is choosing the internal structure.
But
that's
you
what the axioms are.
You choose the arbitrary axioms arbitrarily?
You can, yeah, people do that. And then they investigate the consequences of those axioms.
I think that you are greatly misled about how you understand things. Really.
So you don't know about mathematics. You don't know about neuroscience. What else do you not know about?
No, I know about mathematics, and I know about
apparently
the role
not
of mathematics. No, I sure know, and I sure know how mathematics describes the universe.
And how it doesn't sound like you're familiar with what an axiom is, and how an axiom can be either accepted or rejected arbitrarily.
Well, the Euclidean axiom, the four of them, not the fifth one, the four of them can be rejected in a
Yeah,
flat
you can
space?
you can have non-Euclidean geometry. You can have
I
non-Euclidean
said
geometry. I mean non-Euclidean geometry that
flat
rejects one of
space.
the other axioms. Flat space is defined
When
according
you,
to the 5 Euclidean axioms, so you can't say you have like that. This is a definition. It doesn't even make sense to
there
talk
you go.
about. Well, so
There you
you're
go.
just so you're saying that you can't. That'd be like saying that you can't have, you know, what's a good
You
example of a
just confirmed
definition?
what I
And
said, by the
please,
way, about
please.
Euclidean geometry.
No, what you're saying is you can't have this thing without the thing that we defined it to be. Like obviously, it's a definition.
Yes, and that's different from language. Language is arbitrary. We can choose whatever the hell we want.
Language uses definitions in the same way that mathematics does.
No, that's wrong. Do you think that
Do you?
language
Hold
that
on,
we can
hold on. I need to
describe
show you. I need to show you something. Hold on. I need to show you something. Sorry, let me pull something up. Where is it? Here. Sorry, now I just need to share my screen. Or share my browser or whatever.
Take your time.
Okay. What do you think? Okay, can you see this?
Barely, yeah.
What do you think that word is in the middle there?
There are a lot of words in the middle.
The
Definition,
one I highlighted.
okay?
Yeah, okay. So, are you telling me that we don't define things in mathematics?
So, what, defining mathematically or semantically?
This is a definition of a particular concept, perhaps, or a particular word. Or rather, we are associating a word or a string of words with a particular concept. That's what a definition is.
Will this lead that we will show me that mathematics is the same as normal language?
What I'm offering you, what I'm explaining to you is that in mathematics, we provide definitions. And once you have those definitions, then it's trivially true that definitions are going to us, or the thing that you're defining is going to ascribe or fulfill the definition that you've ascribed to it. So you saying that you can't have Euclidean geometry without the 5 axioms of Euclid, that's because Euclidean geometry is defined as that underlying structure that satisfies the 5 axioms of Euclid.
Yes, that's what the flat space.
There's nothing. That's a tautology. That's a tautology.
Okay,
There's
look
there's nothing deep happening there.
Listen to me. We made a first axiom before the 4 axioms, which is space is flat. That's the very first
No,
thing
that's
that
not an
we
axiom.
made. I'm not
That's not
saying
one of
that.
Euclid's axioms.
I'm saying that that's the first assumption. That's the first.
No, that's not an
that we
assumption of Euclid's. That's not an assumption of
sorry?
Euclid's axioms.
An assumption about the Euclidean geometry is that space is flat. Do you
Define
argue on
flat.
that as well?
Define flat?
Oh my God. I think that you are just arguing for the sake of the argument. Really?
No, I'm just
Really?
Look, it sounds like I'm being pedantic,
it
but it's
simple.
because you obviously don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, let me. No, I know. I really. If I don't, when I didn't know about the Weil tensor, I told you I don't know. I'm sincere.
Okay, so
by
can you
the way.
define what it means for a geometric space to be flat?
Just give me a minute or 10 seconds to tell you a very simple difference about what I mean by arbitrariness in language and in mathematics. In language, as I told you, we can call a cat, another country can call it a dog, another country can call it John, another country can call it whatever they call it. But in mathematics, a 4-sided object is a 4-sided object. We cannot
that's a tautology. Sorry, what's the name for a square in Arabic? What's the name for a square in Arabic?
That's a different point as well. You're just making straw man.
What's the name for a square in Arabic?
And another difference between language.
What's the name for a square in Arabic, please?
What will this lead us?
Well, look, so a cat is a name for a particular kind of thing. It's a name for a 4-legged, small, furry animal, right? And in different languages, we have different names for that specific thing. In the same way, a square is a name for a 4-sided object in the same way that, I don't know what the word is for square in Arabic is, but that's a different name for the same thing.
I'm not talking about the name itself. I'm talking
The
about
example that you gave, where you have cat in English and you have another name for the animal in a different language, that is the name for the thing that you're referring to.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that different people with different languages cannot understand a mathematical concept differently or give it another conceptualization. It's about the concept
People
itself,
can't
not the
understand
words.
cats. Look, by that same reasoning, people can't understand cats differently.
Why do you think mathematics make predictions and language doesn't?
Mathematics doesn't make predictions. Physics does.
Also, physics does not include mathematics?
Physics uses mathematics. Mathematics on its
make
own doesn't make predictions. No.
Come on, are you serious?
What
You
predictions
really
does
think
mathematics make? What predictions does mathematics make?
all of theoretical physics is about mathematical predictions?
That's not
I
true.
mean all of it.
That's not true at all.
If you ask ChatGPT, that's I can.
Fortunately,
ask
I don't need to ask ChatGPT.
right now,
Can I show you something?
because you know the answer, Dr. Blitz. You know the
No,
answer.
I don't need to know.
Mathematics make-
I don't need to ask ChatGPT because it turns out I do theoretical
Because you
physics
know
as a
the
job.
because you know the answer.
So,
you know,
so
if
tell
you
me
ask
where
ChatGPT,
where in this? So this is a theoretical physics paper, by the way. Where in this does the mathematics make a prediction?
Can you ask ChatGPT? Does
No,
mathematics?
I'm not
make
going to ask
predictions
ChatGPT
the
about my
world?
own profession. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
So
really disappointed.
where in this paper does the mathematics make a prediction? Can you?
Black hole was a prediction. Antimatter was a prediction.
That was a prediction of physics, not a prediction of mathematics.
Mathematical
confused.
physics, which is a set of equation. What is?
Can
what
you
is?
point out to me where the prediction is in
You're
this
a
paper?
professional, right?
Yes, this
You're
is my
a professional,
profession.
right?
Yes,
Do you know who predicted antimatter?
Dirac, I think.
Dirac, using which equation?
His own equation.
Okay, how did he predict the existence of antimatter?
Yeah, so the equation, so whenever you're building any sort of physical theory, which is what Dirac was doing, you have some mathematical structure and then an interpretation relating that mathematical structure to reality. And it's the relationship between the mathematical structure and reality. It's that interpretation that does the that has the predictive power, right? The mathematical structure alone doesn't predict anything.
Now I want you to read to
it's the
Dirac
mathematical structure
himself.
together with the interpretation that gets you to a prediction about the world. Mathematics doesn't say anything about the world on its own.
Dr. Blitz, I need you to read what Dirac himself said about his equation when he predicted the existence of antimatter. I'm not going to tell you.
Wait, did you hear what I said, by the way? Are you going to respond to what I said at all?
Well, when Dirac says that mathematics predicts and Dr. Blitz says that it doesn't, will I believe Dirac or believe Dr. Blitz?
Okay, so I'll just say that Dirac is wrong.
Literally called the Dirac equation.
His philosophy is really poorly explained in that, if that's what he said. Sorry.
All right, you know what? I think we're blocked here. We're going to a dead end, so I think that there's no point.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here,
Thank
Refa.
you. Thank you.
So Refa didn't know about mathematics. He didn't know about neurology, and he then didn't know about physics. So and thus we got stuck because he didn't know about things. It happens sometimes, though. All right, let's read some super chats, and we'll move on to our next guest. Oh yeah, or linguistics. That's true too. Although I don't know a lot about linguistics either, so. Okay, so from the Rabid Squirrel Sage, with the $2, all hail the emissary of the lava lamp. Indeed, praise be upon him. From Sloshy Whale with the $5, if you've read or heard Physicist at your funeral, could you react to me mentioning it? You're one of my biggest inspirations, thanks, Blitz. Well, I appreciate that. I've never heard of that. I don't even know what that is. From Every Good Wizard with the $5, imagining Dr. Blitz, panpsychist idealist, was quite the thought experiment. Now my Boltzmann brain hurts. Oh no, you're not a Boltzmann brain, are you? I thought I was the Boltzmann brain. From Chase with the $5, I'm starting to take it as an insult that this guy thinks we share a brain. It's funny. Yeah, people are saying epitome of Dunning-Kruger. Not quite, but close. From Ekipo with the €5, it's wild to hear someone tell me I and people like me don't exist. Numbers have colors and sounds have shapes. Yeah, like synesthesia, like when I was a kid, and to a certain extent I still do, like I wished I had synesthesia because it seems like such a cool experience. And especially like if you have like one of the mathematically oriented synesthesias, which some people have, where they like they see colors when they, you know, conceptualize certain numbers, for example. It would be like a really useful to like, you know, for your number sense, right? From A Barnabas, I see what you did there. A Barnabas with the $5. Genuinely worried for people like him. When LLMs are shut down, what's going to happen to the mush between his ears? I hope that that doesn't happen, if only because it will ruin a lot of people. Also, I don't know how that would ever happen. I don't know how it would ever happen that LLMs are shut down. Like, that's you have more faith in humanity than I do. All right. Oh, my A key just popped off. There are ways. How do you get rid of like the people who host it on their own private servers? Okay, somebody's shouting in the comments something very loudly. Stop talking nonsense. I'll prove you wrong right now. Oh, but you're not in the guest box, Superfuels. Let's bring you up. Superfuels, I sent you an invite. There you are. Superfuels, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Yourself?
I'm doing okay. Just give me 1 sec, okay?
No problem.
Superfuels, all right. So, do you believe that there's a God?
Hold that thought 1 second. So,
All right, hold on the thought.
yeah. So I'll let you decide that, right? So what I need to send you something. How can I send it to you?
I tend to not open things because I don't like getting viruses on my machine. Why can't you just answer the question?
Because I have a paper to prove that the mathematics is wrong.
Okay, well that seems like it's completely unrelated to the topic of the background, so...
Okay, so
thanks for being here, Superfuels.
Your mathematical system is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5...
Rough. From Sloshy Whale with the $5. Thank you. The original audio is on YouTube as Aaron Freeman, physicist at your funeral. The real audio is 358. So is it a song? All right, let's talk to Keith. Keith Cornwall. Keith Cornwall sounds like a, and you know, obviously no disrespect intended. Keith Cornwall, your name sounds like a villain in a Bond movie.
Okay, cool.
I mean, it's kind of a cool name. Anyway, Keith, do you believe in a God?
Well, it says here that you're an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
So you got more faith than me because it takes a lot of faith to believe in nothing.
So do you believe in a God?
Yes, I do.
And like, are you Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Shinto, Buddhist?
Well, I've got 100 million degrees of the Holy Spirit in my body. It's only His mercy that I'm not melting. So I won't put a label on that, but that's what's in my being.
Would you say that, so just to be clear, it sounds like you don't want to call yourself a Christian, right? So just to double check and make sure that you're not a Christian, would you repeat back to me, Jesus is not the Messiah?
No, I would not do that.
Oh, well, it just sounds like you're a Christian then. But anyway, so Keith, why should I believe in the God that you believe in?
So when Jesus went into the temple and drove out the money changers, do you know what they were actually doing for him to get so annoyed?
No, but I'm sure you're about to tell me.
Well, people brought in their lambs, their goats, their doves, and they had to be without spot or wrinkle to be sacrificed to God. And when that person went up and said, you know, this is my goat without spot or wrinkle, they would say, no, it's got a spot here. What we'll do, we'll take that off your hands and we'll give you one of ours that is pure. So then they would give that and they'd have to pay for that. And then they would take that perfect goat that they had and take it around the back and then bring it out later for someone else. It was a con job.
Okay, so cool. So can you explain to me why I should believe in the God that you believe in?
Hang on, mate. Hang on.
It just seems like you're not answering my question.
Yeah. So when they did,
so I'd appreciate it if you answered my question.
Okay. What was your question again?
Why should I believe in the Christian God?
Well, I was about to tell you.
It sounded like you were giving me a story about Jesus getting mad at the money changers.
Yeah, the reason why he was doing that is so basically he was annoyed because they were basically making. He wasn't annoyed that they were bringing people to sacrifice unto God. He was annoyed that they were making money, and the reason that they didn't want to follow it, the reason they put him on the cross, because they didn't want to follow him. It was either give up their money and follow him, or keep their money. So my question to you: you've got 650.
Why should I believe that Jesus? That Jesus is
so you've got 650,000 followers. So if I was to prove, now I probably won't, but if I was to prove to you that God is real, would you give up your 650,000 followers and follow Christ?
Well, I would believe that God is real. Whether or not I would follow Christ is like a further question. I don't know why I would have to give up followers in order to believe something if you've proven to me that it's true.
Well, if I could prove to you that he was right, would you call yourself an atheist and get these 650,000 people to follow you?
Well, I wouldn't call myself an atheist if you proved to me that God is real.
Yeah.
So why should I believe that God is real? Specifically the God that you believe in?
Okay, so Jesus, when a man came to Jesus and said, how do I get to heaven? He didn't tell him to go to church or read his Bible, number one, because
that's
when the
cool.
guy
Is this going to answer why I should think that the God is real?
Well, I'm trying, but you keep cutting me off.
It just sounds like you're going to tell me like a story about like, you know, why, like, I asked you this question 5 minutes ago, and then you told me this story about like the money changers, and that didn't address my question at all. So I just really want to know like what the actual justification is for the belief in the Christian God. Okay. I don't want to just hear preaching, right? I want the like the justification. Why do you think it's true?
Okay, so all right. So you want to know then?
I want to know why you think it's true.
Yep. So I was a Catholic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was a junkie, and I only went to church to get my partner back because she left me because she was carrying my second child, and she was like, "You're just out of control." So I just went to church to go, okay, yeah, I'll be a goody two shoes, you know, just da-da. So they called a prayer line. And I said, what? And they said, what can I do for you? And I said, I just need to get my heart right with God, because what I'm doing is not right. So he said, say this prayer after me. Because the thing is, when Nicodemus came up to Jesus, he said, how do I get to heaven? He said, unless my spirit dwells in your body, you ain't getting in. Hey, mate, Keith, you know what you're doing? You know what you're doing?
Well,
I'm trying to get to my point, and you asked me a question to prove to you, so I'm doing that.
Look,
but I'm doing
Keith,
it my way. But you're getting annoyed.
I'm trying to, you know, just be efficient here. If you're about to give me a personal story about why you believe in God, that's fine. If that's what convinced you, if that's what brought you to Jesus or whatever, that's a fine reason for you to believe in God. I'm asking, what's the justification for why I should believe in God? Your story won't convince me.
Yep. So yeah, that's right. So I could
so you have to give something that would convince me. A personal story won't.
Yeah, that's right. That's my personal story. I'm trying to get to you. So anyway, so he said, say this after me. So I said it after him. Next minute, the Holy Spirit, which is real, because Jesus said to Nicodemus,
Holy Spirit, which is real. I don't think it's real, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. So have you ever taken heroin?
No.
Okay, so if I said to you, how do you?
Also, I don't think that you can say that on live stream, so please abbreviate it or something else.
So if I said to you, just whatever alcohol, whatever something that you've never experienced, and I said, have you taken that? And you said, no, I haven't. Then if I said to you, well, can you explain to me what it's like to have that? You would do your best to explain, but you couldn't really explain it to me.
I would say no.
That's right. So when the Holy Spirit came in me, he goes, how you going? And he spoke to me, he goes, hey, hello. But I felt his power go in, and he goes, how you going? And I'm like, you're real? And he goes, yeah. So
so why should I believe that?
So I'm walking home, and he says to me, see that guy over there in the red jumper?
Why should I believe that this is what happened?
Well, you keep cutting me off. You're good at that because I've been watching you.
Look, you're just rambling a lot. I just want like a pretty straightforward justification, not just some random story. I'd love to hear the actual justification here.
I heard you say the other day about Josephus Flavius, so you studied his works, haven't you?
I'm familiar with them. It's not like my area of expertise, but I'm familiar with them, yeah.
You know the part about the angels in the sky?
In the Testimonium Flavinum?
Yeah, of Josephus Flavius.
I'm not familiar with that particular passage. Do you want to talk about that particular passage?
Well, you like to Google stuff, so if you type in,
I'm happy to Google it right now if you want me to, because I'm not familiar with it.
Tens of thousands of chariots and angels in the sky all over Jerusalem.
Okay, so I should look up Josephus angels, chariots in the sky. Will that
Yep,
find
and
it?
you can also and Titus was the Roman
Okay.
general, the Roman general that was besieging
Okay, so
the city.
so is this in a particular, like, is there a particular part that you want me to read from the Josephus' text? I guess this is in the work The Jewish War.
Yes.
I'm just going to pull up a PDF of it, just that way then we can look at it together. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. So here it is. Make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so here's the text that we're, oh, hold on, let me make this smaller, and then let me just zoom in. There we go. So here's the text, and so we should, I'm just going to look for, hopefully this is searchable, and I can just find angel. So we can find the relevant part. And actually, maybe chariot is less common. Okay. So chariot is only mentioned once in this text. We can read
you might have to Google a bit deeper, because basically
this is just an English translation of the Jewish War,
because
the Wars of the Jews, or history of the destruction of Jerusalem.
Josephus Flavius, when he was caught by Vespasian, said that, and he goes, "You're right for us," and he said, as the sun went down, he said, tens upon tens of thousands of chariots and angels appeared all over Jerusalem, and a great voice thundered God as leading. But Titus, which was the general besieging for Rome...
Actually, that's right here. That's right here. It doesn't say tens of thousands, but that's right here. So it says, besides these, a few days after that feast, on the 1 and 20th day of the month of Artemisius, a certain prodigious and incredible phenomenon appeared. I suppose the account of it would seem to be a fable, were it not related by those that saw it, and were not the events that followed it of so considerable a nature as to deserve such signals. For, before sunsetting, chariots and troops of soldiers in their armor were seen running about among the clouds and surrounding of cities. Moreover, at that feast, which we call Pentecost, as the priests were going by night into the inner court of the temple, as their custom was, to perform their sacred ministrations, they said that in the first place they felt a quaking and heard a great noise, and after that they heard a sound as of a great multitude saying, "Let us remove hence." That's the passage you're referring to, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And Titus, which was the general for Rome, because Vespasian had to go back to Rome, so he said to his son Titus, "You get this done quickly." So if you can Google Titus's works, his books are around today, he said exactly the same thing. And also,
so just to be clear,
yep.
This is a recounted tale. Josephus didn't see this. He even says that he didn't see this. He says, I suppose the account of it would seem... he says, I suppose the account of it would seem to be a fable were it not related by those that saw it. So what he's describing is he's related what people have told him. Right.
No. You're just going to have to Google a bit deeper.
That's what it says. This is Josephus' own words.
Have you ever Googled
we can go find out something else if you want.
Something and it doesn't give you the right information, but you Google a bit deeper and then you find
this is a direct translation of Josephus' work.
Okay, so you need to go a bit, because I've actually
this is as deep as it goes. This is the primary source.
No, go a bit deeper, you'll find it.
There's nothing deeper than the primary source. The primary source is the deepest.
He's right. His true writings said a lot different than that.
These are his words. I mean, they're translated, of course, but these are his words.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're translated just like they translated the Bible.
I don't know. Do you read ancient Greek?
The Bible from the Greek and the Hebrew, they translated.
Do you read ancient Greek?
Do I read ancient Greek?
Yeah.
No, why?
Because that's the language that Josephus was writing in, Koine Greek. And so unless you can read Koine Greek, then this is the best we get.
Type in Titus, chariots and angels in the sky.
Okay. But to be clear, that is the deepest you can go as far as Josephus.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just pulling stuff up. So the AI overview says that this is accounted for by Flavius Josephus. I don't see anything about Titus. Let me see if I can dig a little bit deeper, though, as you say. Okay, so here we're on Wikipedia. We will go look at the siege of Jerusalem, right? So if we look up Josephus, we have Josephus here. According to Josephus, a Jewish commander and eyewitness who later chronicled the revolt under Roman patronage, Jerusalem descended into a three-way civil war with the blah, 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 blah. And then there's the stuff about, so then here's the omens before the destruction, which we were just reading about. Josephus recounts several omens, among those a star resembling a sword. Other signs include a bright light around the temple altar near Passover. Josephus also mentions the appearance of heavenly armies in the sky before sunset. That's the part that we were just reading. Now, I'm going to check if Titus is mentioned anywhere on this this
Josephus,
Wikipedia page, and it is.
Josephus Flavius also mentioned that a heifer, which is a virgin cow, gave
that's
gave
cool.
Birth,
so
gave
Titus
birth
was
to a lamb.
Titus was the general who marched on
floor.
Jerusalem, but so it's describing a whole bunch of stuff that Titus did. The issue is that I'm not seeing any text, and maybe Titus did author something, but I'm not seeing any texts that were written by Titus. So is there some particular text that you're referring to?
Yeah, because I've studied this for years, and he's actually he's works himself. So
okay, well, let's find it. What do you know what the name of the text is?
It's just for example, if you go to Revelation, it says, "I John."
Hold on. Before we change topics, is there like
no? This is
there a reference that you can give me with regards to Titus's work? Because like maybe it's true. I just can't find the Titus accounting for the same text.
I haven't got my notes with me. I haven't got my notes with me because it's 2:00 in the morning here and I'm walking around the kitchen.
That's fair. So I'm just going to. Do you want to just use the AA overview on Google?
Whatever you choose.
Well, I mean, we can just keep digging if you want. But if we just write, did Titus write about the chariots or write about the battle in the sky with angels and chariots? Type that in. Did he? It was not Titus, the Roman emperor, who wrote about the battle in the sky, but the Jewish Roman historian Flavius Josephus. So, I mean, if we trust that, and maybe we shouldn't, but if we do trust that, then it seems like your claim that Titus wrote about this was wrong.
Put it this way.
Hold on.
Type in is Titus.
Do you mean Tacitus? Do you mean Tacitus?
Maybe. It was Vespasian's son.
Okay, so Tacitus apparently, at least according to the AA overview, and we're going to double check this, apparently the Roman historian Tacitus also documented this phenomenon. So let's go look up Tacitus, and we can look up the battle in the sky. We can go see if Tacitus wrote about this at all. So in histories, so we want Tacitus Histories 513. This is, by the way, this is how you do research. What you don't just keep Googling, you go until you find the primary source. And so now we found the histories of Tacitus. We want book 5. And so apparently it's in here that we're going to see the text about, or the discussion about the battle in the sky that you're referring to. Sorry, my A key just popped off. Now, is the claim that if this is true, that therefore God is real? Is that the claim?
No, not yet. Just
so then why are we talking about it?
Well, basically, number one, I've heard you refer to Josephus when you were debating with the guy. So you used him with an iron fist when you wanted to defeat that guy. You used Josephus. Yeah. So basically. So basically, number one, you've just read something on Josephus that you weren't aware of, and
yeah,
so
I haven't read the entirety of Josephus. I've read a few. I've read a few relevant parts.
Let's talk about God for a second.
Hold on. Before we do that, I just want to find. I just want to find the relevant verse or the relevant text.
Does that impress you in history that Josephus Flavius, which you speak about, wrote that and that occurred?
Sorry?
Does that impress you?
That Josephus wrote about a battle in the sky happening like in whatever year he wrote
chariots
in?
Chariots and angels appeared.
Does that impress me? No, not really. Josephus believed in magic.
Mm-hmm.
Why would that, I don't think that magic is real either. Okay, so it's book 5. Here we go. Okay, so this is the relevant part. Sorry, I think I found it. I just want to zoom it in so everybody can see it. So we need 13. Prodigies had indeed occurred, but to avert them either by victim or by vows is held unlawful by a people which, through prone to superstition, is opposed to all propitiatory rites. Contending hosts were seen meeting so here's the part. Contending hosts were seen meeting in the skies, arms flashed, and suddenly the temple was illuminated with fire from the clouds. That's the part that's referring to the battle in the sky. So that is mentioned by Tacitus. Now, Tacitus would have, what year was Tacitus writing in? We can go find this out too. So Tacitus wrote his histories between 100 and 110 AD. It looks like Tacitus probably, when was Tacitus born? Tacitus was born in 56 AD. So he wouldn't have seen this himself either. He would be recounting a tale that he heard from somebody. So what seems plausible is that both Tacitus and Josephus, who were writing after the fact and were not eyewitnesses to this event, they both heard the story from the same people.
Josephus was at the siege of Jerusalem.
Josephus was not. Josephus's own text says that what he's describing, this the chariots and troops of soldiers in their armor were seen running among the clouds, that was related by those that saw it, not related by him. Wasn't seen by him. It was related by those that saw it.
No, because when Vesparian, just 6 months before the siege of Jerusalem, Vesparian caught Josephus, and he was hiding. This is his own words, and he was hiding in the dungeon, and they were down in a hole with about 20 of them. And he said, "Bring him up," and he wouldn't come up. And they said, "You go up, we're going to slit your throat." And so they all drew straws because they couldn't commit suicide. And he was the second last one. And he said to the guy, "Let's not do it." And they went up, and Vesparian said, well, Josephus, we finally meet," because he was a prophet as well as the high priest of Jerusalem, because Josephus was the high priest of Jerusalem and a general in a time of war. And he said, well, we finally meet. And he said, "You're going to be the next emperor." And he said,
"Okay, this is great, but like the text that Josephus writes is that it was related by those that saw it, not that he saw it himself."
No, because I'm saying he was at the siege of Jerusalem, because then he said
that's irrelevant to whether or not he saw the chariots and the stuff and the chariots and the angels in the sky himself.
No, that's just, I'm going to get to that.
In his own text, he says it was related by those that saw it. It does not say he saw it.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to keep talking to you, but I will get an email to you and I will show you that he was actually at the siege.
You don't have to, it's fine.
Because Vesparian said...
I might even agree with you that he was at the siege. That's not the same as him having seen these things.
Yes, he was there and he saw them, and he also said
no, he doesn't say that he saw them.
Yeah, he'll say them in...
He explicitly says it was related by those that saw it.
No,
not himself.
I've read it. Yep.
This is his writing, related by those that saw it, not him. He uses the word "I" when he's referring to things that he's seen, but he is not doing that here. Instead, this was related by those that saw it, not himself.
Because when Vesparian caught him and he said, "You're going to be the next emperor," and he said, "You're just trying to save your own skin," and he said, "Well, why didn't you tell your soldiers I'd take you in 23 days?" And he said, "I did." And he said, "Well, bring me a soldier." And he said, "What did he prophesy over you?" He said, "That you'd take us in 23 days." And he said, "Put a gown on him, a purple gown." And he said, "You're going to now write for us, and you'll go into the siege." And these are in Josephus' own words. And he said, "And you're going to write for us for the rest of this war." And he was at the siege.
Yep. Okay. Now, how does this mean that God is real?
And also, Josephus said there was a great earthquake.
How does this mean that God is real?
Yes, because he said there was also a great earthquake in the Garden of Gethsemane in the east gate of its own accord that took 20 men to open it, because Jesus is supposed to come back through the east gate. So the Palestinians already put a cemetery in front, and he already walked through it. And this is where even 90% of Christians don't understand this. And I'll call you a whack job. And and so, because the angels, when he descended, the angel said, "Why are you looking up? The same place that he left in the garden is where he's coming back to the exact same spot." And that's why Josephus Flavius said, "Angels in the sky." He was there at the siege, because when you dig a bit deeper, you're going to know that he was there.
So,
and he said,
do you believe that the Bible is true, literally?
Sorry?
Do you believe that everything that the Bible says is true?
Well, there's a lot taken out, because, I mean, if you look at Revelation...
That wasn't my question. Do you think that everything that the Bible says is true?
That the Bible says?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interpreted wrong.
Okay, so what about that part in Matthew where, like, zombies roam around Jerusalem? Do you think that that's true?
Where zombies roam around Jerusalem?
It's Matthew 27:53.
Why would you ask me that question?
I'm just curious if you think it's true.
I haven't really studied it too much.
You've read the Bible, though, right?
Yeah, I've read it through.
Okay, but so then, I mean, do you think that this part's true?
Do I think it's true?
Yep.
I don't know.
Let me show you.
Have to...
How do you not know this bit? This is like a really famous bit.
Well, it didn't really faze me too much when I've read it. Of course, but
this is a miracle that happened, right? Like this is how is it not important? At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split, and the tombs broke open. The bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people. Do you think that's true?
What I do like is you're getting excited over it more than me.
Do you think that's true?
Do you?
No. Do you?
Why not?
Can you answer the question? I asked you first.
It doesn't matter. I asked you second. Who's higher than
I already answered your question. I don't think it's true. Do you think it's true?
You don't think it's true. Why don't you think it's true?
I will answer your question after you explain to me that why you think it's true.
Can I ask you a question, though? When people talk about the Bible...
No, I've already asked you a question and you're refusing to answer it. So please answer the question. Do you think that this is true? Do you think that this actually happened?
Everything in the Bible is true.
Okay, so you think that the bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life, and they came out of the tombs after Jesus resurrected and went into the holy city, Jerusalem, and appeared to many people. You think that that's true?
Yeah, well, so going on, if it's in the Bible, it would be true, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so just to be clear, it is your view that like zombies appeared.
Are you setting me up for the kill or something, are you?
No, it's just like a little bit absurd, right? Like you believe that zombies like wandered around in Jerusalem and it's only ever been written down by Matthew.
What's it say in the Greek?
We can go look it up. Do you speak Greek?
No, my great-great-grandfather was Greek, but I don't speak it.
Okay, so can you read Greek? Can you like understand Greek? Because if we go look at what it says in the Greek, it might look cool, but neither of us will understand it, so it won't really help us.
Yes, it will. If it's what's the
neither of us know Greek.
It'll give the Greek, and then it gives the interpretation of what that Greek word means.
Yeah, so that's what this is. This is called a translation, right? That's what we're looking at right now.
So if you go to the concordance, what does zombies mean?
It doesn't. This doesn't say the word zombies in it. I don't know. Like I imagine you can see it behind me. It says the bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people. So you have dead people. These are the bodies of many holy people who had died. They were raised to life.
Jesus died and he rose.
I know that's the claim. So this says that the bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. And then they came out of their tombs after Jesus' resurrection. And they went into the holy city, which is Jerusalem. And they just appeared to many people. They went and they interacted with lots of people.
Well, Jesus did walk the earth for another 40 days after he rose
That's great,
from the grave.
but this is not just Jesus. This is also like a whole bunch of dead people who wandered around in Jerusalem.
If that happened, that's awesome, isn't it?
Well, it would be great and amazing if it were true. But does it say whether they went and sucked blood or they went and did the miracles of God? So you'd think that if this was real, it would be written about in more than one place.
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of Bibles have been taken out of the book. For example, let me tell you this, for example.
Well, I'm not even talking about the Bible. I'm just talking about historically. There were a lot of people who were living in Jerusalem, a lot of well-educated people who were living in Jerusalem who could read and write. Why is it that nobody else wrote about this except Matthew?
Yeah, well, they probably did, but they do take away a lot of history and books, as you note.
So it's a conspiracy.
No, I didn't say that.
So why is this only in Matthew and not Mark, Luke, or John?
How do I know? I wasn't around when they put together
It just seems a little unusual that this incredible event of many people rising from the dead and wandering around Jerusalem would only be written in one place.
Well, here you said conspiracies before, so I'll give you a good one. In Revelation, he says, "I, John, was put here on the Isle of Patmos." Type that in for me.
Sorry, are we pivoting?
Revelation, John was put here on the Isle of Patmos.
Sorry, are we like just completely like changing topics because you don't want to talk about the zombies that wandered around Jerusalem?
Well, you don't have to type it in, but I'll tell you what it says. If you go to any Bible, any
it sounds like we're pivoting.
No. If you go to any Bible that's ever been written, it will say, "I, John, was put on the Isle of Patmos."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it sounds like that this is a pivot.
Except for one Bible. The very first Bible written was in Aramaic, the Aramaic Bible, and it says something that was put there, and they took that out of every other Bible. Mm-hmm. So if you go
the Bible's been changed, I agree.
So this is what it says.
If the Bible's been changed, how do you know the one that you have is the original and is true?
I don't believe that any of the latest Bibles have not been. They've all been changed.
Well, we don't have any original manuscripts, right? So how do you know that any of the Bibles you've read are true?
The Aramaic Bible, which
It's
is
not
the
an
first
original
Bible,
manuscript.
The Aramaic Bible, he says, I, John, was put here on the island of
That's
Patmos
not an original manuscript. So it's irrelevant. That could have been changed.
By Nero Caesar.
That's great, but that could have been changed.
Why
So that
would
doesn't have
they
to be the original.
Why would they take Nero Caesar, that word, out of every Bible except
How do you know
the
that it
first
wasn't?
one?
How do you know it wasn't added into that one?
Well, I don't.
Oh, okay. So how do you know that anything in the Bible is true?
Why do you think they took Nero Caesar out of that Aramaic
Why do you
Bible?
not know how to answer questions?
Why don't you?
I've been answering your questions honestly and very
yeah,
quickly
you
this
you
entire
answer
conversation,
no,
but
no,
I've
no.
asked you a question now.
You answer questions.
Do you remember when I asked you a question
I
about
wouldn't
whether or
wanna
not
be-
you thought this Bible verse was
Do
true,
like
and it
this
took
to
you
your
like
wi- do you
5
talk
minutes
like
to
this
actually?
your wife? Do
Just to
you
be
give
clear,
your wife time to explain stuff? Because what
just to
you
be clear,
don't-
do you remember when it took you like all of 10 minutes in order to answer yes or no whether or not you think that this verse is actually true? Even though I asked you, do you think that actually happened, and it took you 10 minutes in order to answer it, and in the process of answering it, you asked me a question, then you wanted to ask me another question, and I answered your question before you did? Do you remember that, or is that something that, kind of slipped your mind? You can unmute yourself now, by the way. Just as a reminder in case you don't know.
So you basically get a lot of these people on your show that really love God, but they can't really articulate too much, and you can take them to the slaughter.
You're right. That's exactly what's happening.
So when you get someone that maybe might challenge you just a fraction, doesn't mean they're going to prove, because you don't. This is not the day for you to believe in Jesus. Because I knew when I got on here, I wasn't really going to try to prove to you, because you are not teachable to understand that God is real yet. And I'll tell you this though: hell is real and heaven is real. And guess what? Jesus is going to have every person believe in him, because if you don't believe in him on this earth, when you get to hell, you will believe in him, because everyone in hell believes in Jesus. Everyone, because they're there and they understand he's real. So either way, he wins.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Good to see someone manifest with the truth.
What? Do you think that was... Do you think that was about me?
So what you do all the time, you just cut people off when it suits you. You don't give people a chance because you're not teachable. You don't want to be taught. You just want to give your side of the story, and you don't. So what if a guy takes 10 minutes or 20 minutes to explain something? But
I like to talk to people who are efficient with their words.
Yes, that's right. See, that's what I mean. So you actually select who you want to crucify and who you want to listen to, because you haven't got the time to listen to people unless it suits your.
If somebody is a rambler, which you are, and that's fine, you're allowed to be a rambler. I'm not going to say that you're a bad person for it. But if somebody is a rambler and they're not very efficient with their words, and they take 20 minutes to explain something that would have taken 30 seconds to explain something from somebody else, yeah, sorry, I'm not going to waste my time. It's just a bad use of time.
Oh well, didn't Paul say I didn't come with power? Power and demonstration, but by the Spirit, says Paul said, I didn't come with persuasive words. You know, Apostle Paul was a stutterer. And he goes, I didn't come with persuasive words because I stutter. He goes, but I come with the power so you might believe God's real. And that's why people believed in Jesus, not because he raved on. It's because of the power that he had. And I've moved in that power. But unless you move in it and you understand it, God is not a belief or a faith.
Amazing.
God is an experience. Unless you experience,
yeah, I'm sure.
I said to you,
you're doing it again, by the way. You're rambling again.
If I said to you,
you are rambling.
John,
you're preaching even.
Yeah. So what?
Well, I'm not here to be preached to. I'm here to have a conversation.
Yeah. No, this is a conversation. So if I said to
preaching
you,
is not a conversation. So look, what's the actual reason I should believe that God is real?
All right, well, if I said to you that my mate John, 6'6", he's got a beard, he's got a big belly, and he laughs like this, and he's got a character like this, you would get a perception of who he was. But then if John walked into the,
I also know that friends who are 6'6" are real.
If John walked into the room, you would say, "Hang on, I had a perception the way Keith explained who John was, but now John's in the room, he actually is a lot different to what I imagined."
Yeah, so can you explain to me what the reason is for why I should think God is real? That'd be great.
You don't want to believe.
I would love to believe if it's true, but you haven't been giving me a very good reason to believe.
Hey, guess what? If you really truly wanted to believe, you wouldn't cut me off as much.
No, I'm cutting you off because you're having a hard time explaining yourself and because you're going off topic on the regular. So look, I'm going to give you one more chance to give an explanation as to why I should think that God is real. Not an explanation about the chariots in the sky with Josephus, not a conversation about Flavius or about Vespasian, or not a conversation about, you know, John whatever telling me that he's 6'6" and has a stutter. Like, I want a reason that I should think God is real, right?
Did you hear the end of John though?
I want a reason why I should think God is real.
Did you hear the end of John, what I said at the end about John?
No, I didn't. I want a reason to think that God is real.
If I explain, see, this is what you're doing again. You just keep cutting people off.
It's because you're avoiding the question.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. But that's why we're given 2 ears and 1 mouth to listen. And if we truly have a heart,
that's a good lesson that you should learn.
Yeah, and I think it's someone even better than you, because I've listened to you with people, and you constantly just cut them off and cut them off.
People have a tendency to ramble, and that's when I cut them off, when they ramble.
Yeah, but the thing,
I want to talk to people in an efficient way.
That's called love. No, that's called love. When you listen to
rambling
people,
is love?
And no. When you want to listen to people and let them get out what they need to get out, and basically
Keith,
just listen,
I'm sorry.
that's called love.
I don't love you. I don't know you. I'm sorry.
No. Well, that's the thing.
You're not going to get love from me. I don't even know who you are. So be a normal person, have a normal conversation that involves a back and forth, which means that you talk for a little bit and then I talk for a little bit. And then we have a conversation. In particular, we answer each other's questions in a reasonable and efficient way, or get off my live stream.
Because you don't understand agape love. You only understand filial love.
Okay. It doesn't seem like that you have any capability to understand what I'm saying. Maybe you don't speak English. Maybe they only speak Kiwi down there, or Australian. I don't know where you are, but it didn't seem like you made any progress. So thanks for being here. What a wild world we live in. Let's read some super chats and we'll bring on our next guest. From Relax with Russell with the $10. Dr. Blitz, is it really fair to say that we can't use math to make predictions? For example, we can't use equations to predict the position of the moon in the night sky at a given time. No, so the math is useful to make predictions, but the math isn't making predictions on its own. It's the math combined with the interpretation of the mathematics, which is the physics part. Oh yeah, I did forget that I have the page up. It's the math combined with the interpretation, which is what physics is, that makes the predictions. The math itself doesn't have any relation to the real world. In order to connect it to the real world, you need the interpretation. From Adam Hurst with the $20, very, very generous. I appreciate you. I now want to call in to argue for Amaterasu and her kids. They have the coolest story. Please don't. From Sloshy Whale with the $2, I'm too broke for this, but it's a powerful poem. If you're too broke, stop doing it. From Jessica Transmetal Alchemist with the $10 Australian, you're not like them, I promise. Simpsons reference Caller, Jesus painted goats in order to prove to his followers the Holy Spirit. Blitz, Caller, what is the point of the story? Caller, I like stories. He did like stories. From Furtive Pata with the $2, hello, the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit just said hi to him. From Jessica again with the $10 Australian with the Simpsons reference again. Okay, here's what we've got. The junkies in alliance with the Josephus, under the supervision of the painted goats, we're looking through the glass here, people. See, I haven't seen The Simpsons, so these might be lost on me. One more Transformers reference. Caller, Titus wrote about angels in the sky. Blitz, do you mean Tacitus? Caller, they were the same guy. That's basically what happened, though. Wow, Jessica, you're being very generous, and I do appreciate it. Caller, I can't prove God is real, but I have my ways. One trick is to tell stories that don't go anywhere, like how I needed to go to Jerusalem to buy more junk, which was the style at the time. From Sloshy Whale with the $5, huge pivot, but you and Justin actually moved the mountains for me, if you know what I mean. I probably wouldn't still exist if y'all didn't as well. Well, that, I'm glad that we could be important for you, Sloshy. It's very, it's very kind of you to say, and I hope that you're doing well. From Games on Easy with the $5, someone close to me thinks the Earth pictures are fake because, quote, you can't see the satellites around the Earth. Well, someone close to you is stupid. From Babs Barrett with the £2, John of Patmos wrote in Greek, not Aramaic. Ah, good point. From Miss Soap with the $5, glad to see your procedure and everything went smooth, and you're back to fighting the good fight. Well, it didn't go perfectly smooth. I still have this thing on my nose from it, but otherwise I'm doing well. From the very hungry Singularity with the $10, Lord, he was born a rambling man. I should have played that song. I would have gotten demonetized, but it would have been really funny. From Mr. Pecho with the $20, I wondered how Crocodile Dundee had lived this long, and it turns out energy vampire. Oh, you know what? That's if there was a Crocodile Dundee that was an energy vampire, it would have been him. Would have been that guy. Yeah. And from Casey Diddly Doo with the $5, that guy was spinning a yarn, as they'd say down under. Is that what they say? I don't know if that's what they say, but he definitely was doing it. All right, let's bring on our next guest. I really do got to do that. I used to do it more. I don't do it as much anymore, but I definitely do have to do that, Quanta. All right, we have a guest from Discord, so let's bring up Bologna.
Hello.
Bologna, how's it going?
Good.
Give me just one moment, okay?
I'm talking to someone.
Bologna, so do you believe in a god?
Yes.
And which one would that be? Are you Christian? Are you Muslim? Are you Hindu? Are you Shinto, Buddhist?
Yeah, Christian.
Okay. So look, I'm not a Christian, as the name implies. I'm an atheist. Why should I believe in the Christian God?
Can I approach this differently, if you don't mind?
As long as it's related, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I was listening to the last guy. I'll definitely try to keep this brief. So,
you don't have to be brief. It's just good to stay on topic.
Yes. So, like, I feel like I saw your last argument. You're of a scientific mind. So,
well, sure. I mean, I am a scientist, but I'm happy to talk about philosophy or history or whatever.
So, how do you think, like, with the whole, like, could you explain to me your philosophy of, like, how the universe is created?
I don't know if the universe was created.
You don't know if it was, so like you might be in a simulation right now. Like, what do you mean?
No,
by that?
it could have like always existed, in which case it wasn't created, right?
So like, what's the argument with that? With like, sorry, I'm trying to word this in a good way. Like, you could just say it's always there, but then like, that's almost as valid. I feel like as like I don't know, like the tree was always there, like the tree didn't fall or whatever if you didn't hear it, kind of.
Well, look, I'm not saying that the universe did always exist. I just don't know. Like, it seems like conceptually plausible that the universe always existed. It also seems conceptually plausible that there was a first moment of time. I don't know which one it is. I'm going to withhold my judgment until I do.
Okay, that's valid. But then, would you relate that to your birth? Because, like, you know when you were born, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, like, I know that I was born because I know how humans work. Humans are born at a certain point. But, like, humans are not universes. Universes are not humans. So I can't use that same intuition about humans to figure out what's going on about the universe.
Okay. Could you explain your side to me of why you don't believe, if you don't mind?
Yeah. So basically, I have some very, very strong intuitions that lead me in that direction. And there's also some pretty good arguments that I've heard. So a piece of intuition that I have is that it seems like whenever we think of minds, and God is a thing that has a mind, right? It's a thing that has a mind that maybe created the universe or something like this. And it's also, importantly, it's non-material. It's like, it doesn't have a body, right? Whenever we think of minds, whenever we think of agents or things that can make decisions, things that have desires, things that have wills, they always seem to come with certain properties. Importantly, they always seem to be attached to a body of some kind, right? Like, whenever I encounter a person on the street, there's always a body attached to them. And, you know, we might even say that dolphins have minds, but they have a body attached, like the dolphin mind has a body attached to it as well. And, you know, we could even imagine a computer. Maybe a computer could eventually become conscious, but it would have a body too. It would be the, you know, the CPU or the computer or whatever. So it seems like whenever we talk about things with minds, they're always attached to bodies. And whenever we talk about things with minds, they're never the kind of thing that can create laws of physics. So, or that can create universes. So it seems like when we think of what a mind is, it's not the sort of thing that can be an immaterial being that created the universe. So it seems like that we should, just from the get-go, we should have a very, very small amount of justification for believing in such a thing just from the get-go, because all of our experience says that no such thing is possible. And then we can go look at questions like the problem of evil. which, at least for someone like myself, the problem of, say, natural evil is really compelling. Why would God make the world in a way that it allows for such immense suffering, even though it doesn't require that immense suffering? Then there's questions about what it would mean for a God to do the creation at all if it existed before time existed, whatever that might mean. So it seems like that there's a lot of like these kind of like logical inconsistencies that show up whenever we try to conceptualize what, you know, a Christian like God is. And we already have good reason to think that it's not a real thing. So given those factors, it just seems super implausible to me.
So could we like work this like methodically with like going through the first one?
We can do whatever you want. Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like I can't really like argue with the first one, because I feel like when you speak of an entity like God, you can't apply like worldly like things. Like almost every God in any religion, their God is out of like, it's beyond time and beyond space.
Well, not the
right?
Greek gods. Like, the Greek gods are super understandable. The Greek gods have bodies, right? They have bodies, and they get angry sometimes.
Yes. That's why I said almost, yes.
Well, in fact, most of the gods of the ancient world were like this. In fact, even the Hebrew god was like this. The ancient Hebrew god.
Yes.
The way that the ancient Hebrews understood God was a being with a body, like a powerful guy. They're pictures or drawings. This notion that it's like this thing that's beyond comprehension. This is very much like a you know, turn of the millennium kind of philosophy. It originated from like the Greeks or whatever, and it really was. This is like a fairly recent thing as far as human beliefs go.
Sorry, can you repeat that again? I'm so sorry.
This idea that like there is this idea that there is this like ephemeral being that like we can never understand and is beyond comprehension. This is like a uniquely Greek idea that came from the Greek philosophers in the Mediterranean. Maybe it's not uniquely Greek, but that's where like the modern conception comes from. It comes from the ancient Greeks with their, you know, with their philosophy and their, like, it comes from like people like Socrates and Plato, Aristotle. And then that got imported into Christianity, which then got imported into Islam.
Okay,
but that is actually the minority. That is the exception rather than the rule.
Okay, well, if we're talking about like a relation to creating the universe, I feel like the Greek gods are out of that relation, because if they're like, how could you be of human form if you were before time, right? That wouldn't, I agree. Like, because if you, that means like you were after. That's different than Jesus, because Jesus was like the Son of God, and he came as like something that was recognizable to us, you could argue. That's why. And then there's like the Trinity, which is different, and it's not just only humans like the Greek gods were.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what I was trying to say was, for me at least, I feel like that I forget what you said the argument was, but we have very strong intuitions that should imply that a mind, like the thing that's required to exist for Christianity's God to exist, just isn't possible. We have very strong intuitions that no such thing is possible. But the thing is, though, is do you believe that your consciousness is tied to your body, or do you believe that? Yeah, I think it emerges from. I think it emerges from the brain. But do you think it's like, okay, the brain, yes. But like, you know, after you're like, after you are brain dead, there's 7 minutes of like memories and everything, even after you're dead. I don't think that's true. I don't know. If you're brain dead, then that means that brain activity has ceased. So I don't know how you would ever possibly determine that there's 7 extra minutes. I'm sorry. I mean, but like, think about it, right? Like, even if it was true, how would we ever know? Oh, because they've done what they've done. It's really cool, actually. These studies where they hook up, like, you know, the seizure test that they do, like they see the brain waves. Mm-hmm. So they've done it where they actually they see brain activity, and then furthermore, they've done fMRIs, which is like, basically it's like you almost can like see people's dreams. I know what an fMRI is. If there's brain activity, then it's not brain. Then you're not brain dead. Yes, I misspoke. I'm sorry. But after you're dead, like you have 7 minutes, like there's like after you're dead, and I mean like dead, and like you mean after your heart stops? Your heart stops, your organs are failing, like when your brain is like the last thing. Well, yeah, but if the consciousness is emergent from the brain, then that's not an issue.
you'll have experiences so long as the brain is still, you know, functioning. And as the brain begins to fail, then you'll have you might have crazy experiences even.
Wait. Okay, I agree with that then, actually. I can see what you mean by that, but do you think jellyfish aren't conscious then?
Yeah, I suspect they're probably not.
Really?
Yeah.
What about like other like? So you don't think jellyfish are conscious? Like, what? Could you elaborate on that?
I don't think that they have an internal experience. I don't
So you
think that they have.
like,
I don't think
you
that there is
it's
a
like
thing
almost
that.
like you think it's almost like just like a sperm cell on like a macro level.
I think it's closer to a machine. I don't think that they have like. I don't think that they have brains. I know that they have nerves, but I don't think that they have brains.
But do you think it's life in like the classical sense?
Of course, it's alive.
So life without consciousness, that's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you think that bacteria are conscious?
On some level, I think they are, because they have, it's not the consciousness of seeing an environment, but it's reacting to endorphins and pheromones.
Yeah, but like robots can do that too. Robots aren't conscious.
Well, of course. I mean, at some point, like there's like
no, I mean like currently robots can do that. Right?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Robots could do it 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, like
but robots aren't conscious.
They aren't, but robots are programs, and I think there's a fine line.
Yeah,
of argument
robots are silicon machines, and I would say that much of life are organic machines.
I think that goes into the argument of what point of developing code and like autonomy in robots do you start developing, like, because at the end of the day, there's your brain is chemical processes, right? And at some point it just becomes ones and zeros at some point. And
well, in a computer, yeah, I mean, we're analog, but
yes, of course. At some point you could rewire the brain. It would be very hard computing wise to get it exact. And there's even like the sci-fi as Project Hail Mary, Rocky, his brain is actually like crystal. So like at what point does consciousness, like, is it just the gushiness that makes it a life, or is it like the consciousness is still like...
So life and consciousness are different.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know what the threshold is for consciousness, but I can tell you when there isn't some. Or at least I can tell you when I don't think that there is any. Like, I don't think that like a bacteria is conscious. I think that a dog is.
So would you what level would it be where you would think there's a consciousness? Like how many cells?
I just told you,
like
I can't tell you where the dividing line is, but I can tell you. I can tell you what definitely doesn't.
Like
I can tell you what definitely does.
Is there like a gray area for you where you would be like iffy? Like you couldn't.
Yeah. I don't know. If you ask me if like a rotifer is a bad example. If you ask me if like, I don't know, like a spider is conscious, I don't know, maybe. If you ask me if like, I don't know, like a, yeah, there's like some boundary between like having basically no complex neural structure and having some complex neural structure where maybe there's a consciousness that picks up. Maybe it's so like low level of consciousness that ramps up as you get more complex. Yeah, definitely. Consciousness is just the sum of experience and memory, and you know, yeah, perhaps we could just say the sum of experience and memory and maybe thought. And the more complex your experience, your memory, your thought is, then you could say that you have like more consciousness.
So would an LLM be conscious?
I don't know. I kind of suspect not, but because it's not clear that they have experience.
Sorry for getting off topic.
It's fine. But anyway, so why should I think that Christianity is true?
Well, I think that's up to lived experience, and also not only that, but just it's really a personal level. I don't think I'll be able to convince you in a short time, but maybe I can, like, I don't know, just like give my thought. It's a fun, like, just talking to somebody random across the internet. So I thought I'd give it a shot.
That's fair.
For me, it's just lived experience. And like I know you brought up like how could there be bad things, but that's what challenged my faith. And if you want to talk about that, I feel like that might be maybe a starting point. It's very hard to like explain. Like there's like the thing called and like the elevator pitch. I'm not good at that. I'm sorry, but
That's fine.
if you want to like
So
try
let
to
me
challenge
give
some
you like
things,
the
and I could try to like defend.
So let me pull something up for you. So
all right, let me back on the stream.
I'm not pulling anything up, but I was just looking something up really quick. So like the problem of evil, and we might say that it's like, you know, I could give you like the formal argument for it, but we don't need it. The point is that, you know, God set the rules for the world, right? He made the world a certain way with certain rules. Now, one of the ways that he made the world is that, you know, trees can burn. Of course trees can burn, and maybe that's an important rule to have because, you know, he knew that us humans, we would need to be able to like heat ourselves, keep ourselves warm or something like that, right? Okay, fine, trees can burn. But then the question is why did he make us in a way that we would suffer so much when we're on fire? Why would he make us in a way such that we were susceptible to being burned alive? Why would he make the world in such a way that there were people in places, or that there were beings in places where forest fires or where fires were so common? And the example that I give is, Bologna, do you mind if I ask how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 19.
Okay, so do you remember, this was like, I guess you were like right around a teenager, or you're still a teenager now, but do you remember in 2019, 2020, there were bushfires in Australia?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so they were really, really bad. And, you know, it's been estimated that something like 2.46 billion lizards were burned alive in those in that bushfire, just over a single season, right? 2.46 billion lizards. And surely you understand that being burned alive, it's probably one of the worst ways that you can go. It's probably one of the most painful, right? Like that and drowning are probably like two of the worst ways to go, right?
I'd say burning alive is worse because it takes a while to cook the steak, and that's not even all the way cooked.
Yeah, I mean, so fair. So this is to say, it seems very, very strange that God had to make the world in such a way that 2.46 billion lizards would burn alive over the course of a few months. Like, that is an unimaginable amount of suffering, and it seems like that there's no good God that could do that.
So I can't answer to that specific argument, and it's not because I don't have a refute for it, but because it's so broad and specific. But I could answer it in a more broad way. But I'll attempt to answer the lizard thing though.
Sure.
And that's like, so there's like natural predators and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like we could say, right, and he like, well, first of all, in Christianity, he's omnipresent, omniscient, and like, you know, like all knowing and all being and everything, right? That's what I believe.
Yeah.
So for all we know, it could be like if those lizards didn't die. I know this is a terrible example, but just like I'm not God, I couldn't tell you. If they didn't die, they could become natural predators in the ecosystem or whatever of Australia. They'd become dominated by those lizards or whatever. And it's a terrible argument, and you could strawman that to bits, and it's a terrible argument, and I don't know really a good answer to that. But what I can answer is why there is bad things in the world, and that is,
look. So whatever you're going to say for why there's bad things in the world, it's going to have to cover why there's that specific bad thing, right?
Yeah.
So whatever explanation you have should apply equally well to the lizards being burned alive.
All right.
So what's the explanation?
Okay, so when everything was created, right? And I'll keep this brief. When everything was created, everything was good, right? And then Adam and Eve, you've probably heard this a million times, they ate the apple, and then bad things came alive. Well, that was like the first bad thing, right? It might seem like nothing, but that was like the first. That's the list of things that created every other bad thing, basically. Sure. And what happened was that there was choice, right? Like war and everything. Like God doesn't create war. It's like at the end of the day, it's political. Like right now in America, they're going to a war, and most people don't agree with it, right?
So,
and
look, I'm familiar with the argument.
Choice.
There's trouble because, like, look, that's a great explanation for why there's war, because humans have free will, and humans aren't perfectly good, and so we kill each other. Right. The trouble is humans didn't cause the bushfire, right? This was a natural disaster. It wasn't a human that set the fire on accident. This was caused by lightning strikes. So humans had no role in this bushfire happening. So human choice just doesn't explain why there's natural evil. Like, why are there earthquakes? Well, humans don't cause earthquakes.
Why is there natural disasters? Is what
Yeah.
I'd have to get back to you with that, if I'm being honest. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that. Thank you for challenging that.
Yeah, of course. Bologna, I'm going to let you go because you have some thinking to do. But I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being normal, okay?
Yes.
Have a good one, man. He was a good kid. All right, let's read some super chats, then we'll move on to our next guest. By the way, it is 2.4. It's estimated that it's 2.46 billion lizards that were burned alive. And just so you know the scale of this bushfire, this is 92,000 square miles. So that is, you know, like 300 square miles, or 300 mile area by a 300 mile area, completely up in flames. That's so much land. These bushfires were enormous. So from Tim Davidson with the $2, there's no reason for shorts to cost as much as pants. That's a good question. That's a good point. Absolutely. From Tim Davidson, I wanted to let everyone know I've had a major change and let Jesus into my life. He's really turned my... I'm kidding, there's no God, grow up. Tim. From Jessica with the $10 Australian, I find deductive arguments for God dead on arrival. The human mind is very good at understanding things we can observe inside the universe. Extending that reasoning out to the universe itself is just speculation. That's very true. But I mean, yeah, that's very true. And that's generally why I'm pretty skeptical. From Simeon Urchin with the $10, I'd say probably insects and such would be conscious. We've done experiments with bees where they played around with the ball for fun. Nothing else, not training or anything. You should look at the paper. I've heard about that. So yeah, the question, like what consciousness do insects and like arachnids have? Maybe they have some, maybe they don't. It's hard to say. Like, you know, the strange thing is that we now have a fully mapped fruit fly brain. And so the question is that thing conscious? Maybe. From Relax with Russell with the $10, I'd agree that it isn't used on its own, but even if it's used with something else, it's still used. You said useful, which means can be used for. So in other words, math can be used for predictions. Yeah, but math doesn't make predictions. If I wasn't very clear with my language, what I mean to say is math doesn't make predictions. Physics makes predictions using math, right? And from Blue Tanuki with the $5, aren't conjectures in math kind of like predictions, like Goldbach's conjecture? No, not really. Predictions are about things that are supposed to happen in the future. Now, what conjectures are is they are people's intuitions about what should be true based off of, you know, their understanding of the way mathematics is. But the mathematics isn't making a prediction, right? It's not saying this will happen in the future. All right, let's bring up our next guest. We have a guest from TikTok. Let's bring up A. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, hello, can you hear me?
I can. Hey, do you believe in God?
How you doing? Yes, I do.
Okay, and what God would that be?
I don't believe in a religion.
Okay, so can you describe the God that you believe in?
I think I believe in a deity, I think.
Mm-hmm.
A God that is not really involved in the world.
Okay, so, but is it responsible for, say, creating or sustaining the world?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. Why should I believe in that thing?
I think it best explains how the universe existed.
Can you elaborate on that? Like, why should I think that it best explains this?
Like, for example, the fine-tuning argument.
Sure. Do you want to go over that argument, or do you want to just use that as an example?
I read about Roger Banro's number, which state that the universe started in such a low probability, which I think it could only indicate that there was a creator behind that.
So, just to be super clear, the position that Roger Penrose holds is not that it began in a low probability state, just that the state that the Big Bang was in before it expanded was or say right at the beginning of expansion was very, very low probability. But that doesn't mean that that was the beginning. An example of how we could explain this without requiring a god would be, suppose that you just have a system. Like imagine that you have a gas and a bunch of gas in a box, and you just let that gas bounce around randomly, right? If you wait long enough, eventually all of that gas will end up in one corner, just by chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very low probability, which just means that it'll take a long time for that to happen. So one plausible explanation is that it was just sitting in this extremely dense state that was not low probability and just changing all the time until it got to the low probability state, which allowed for the expansion to happen.
Oh, okay. That explains it. Thank you very much. Actually, go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's not necessarily the explanation, but that's a kind of explanation that might be true.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily true that God must be the only explanation.
That's true, but I didn't really look into the other explanations, but I just assumed that God, like, it was the best explanation.
Okay, well, so look, it sounded like your argument was that God is the best explanation for the way the world is.
Yeah.
But, and correct me if I'm wrong, it does sound like you just said that you haven't looked into what the other possible explanations are.
For the beginning of the universe. Like,
for example. So then how do you know which explanations are the best explanations if you haven't looked into the alternatives?
That's true, you got me there. But like, I feel like God is more plausible than, say, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
And look, not knowing is fine. It's a normal thing to not know. There's a lot of things I don't know. I would just... by the way, it's fine if you want to believe in God. That's fine. Like, I'm not going to tell you not to, as long as you're not, hurting anybody. By all means. What I would say is that if you're interested in these kinds of conversations, it's important to look into the counter arguments for the things that you believe or for the arguments that you think you have, just so that you're ready to defend your arguments against what the standard counter arguments are.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's not me like lecturing you. That's just me giving you a bit of advice for the next time you do this. Is that fair?
Yeah. But can I ask you, is Roger Banro's number, is it accurate?
It's debated. That number, so you won't find that number spoken about very often in the scientific literature. The only people who tend to bring it up are people who believe in God. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's why. Maybe because I read that through people who believe in God.
So what is true, or what is generally agreed upon, is that in the very early universe, so when the universe was very small, very hot, very dense, the universe was in this very unlikely state. Being small, hot, and dense, but also having a tendency to expand and then form structure is unlikely. So that's agreed upon. The number, the specific number is probably very heavily debated, but like it is agreed upon that that particular state is unlikely.
Oh, okay, thank you. Can I ask another question?
Yeah, sure.
Would it be possible for a life to arise other than the life that we know?
It seems like it would be. I mean, the life that we have on Earth it's a very specific kind. It all has a DNA, right? But, I could imagine that there's other kinds of life. We have plenty of science fiction that does that. We don't have proof, of course, but I don't know. It would seem very weird if the only way to produce self-replicating, metabolizing organisms is with a specific kind of chemical. Like, you could imagine that you have life that's very, very different.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Have a good one.
Likewise. She was nice. She also seemed young. I probably should have asked her age before we got started, but I imagine that she was like 19 or 20. So. From Neural Void, with the 2 pounds, without natural selection, there would be no good. Yeah, plausibly. And from Soupy Dude with the $5, if a god isn't real, explain how $5 just appeared in your bank account. I got you there. I got you here. I only get 70% of that. Take that, theists. All right, there was a person who was in the YouTube chat. I don't remember their name. But I think what was his name? Is it Asura Azoth? So Asura Azoth, you made the claim that the best way to defeat an atheist is to ask them to defend their beliefs. So feel free, hop in the guest box on Discord. I'll bring you up and we can have a conversation. We will both defend our beliefs. How about that? The challenge is there. It seems like you are... It seems like you probably aren't brave enough to come up. I bet he won't either. The link is on the screen. We'll give him a minute or so. Did he get blocked? Did somebody, if YouTube mods, if he got blocked, unblock him. We'll give him a minute. From Surströmming with the 27 Swedish kroner. Have you ever tried Surströmming? I haven't. I don't even know what it is. Is it a food? I imagine it must be a food, right? So anyway, it seems like that he's not showing up. So we're going to move on to our next guest. Oh, is this the buried fish? Somebody tagged me. Oh, it's fermented shark. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. This is that thing. Yeah. I'm not going to try that. Thank you. I'm good. I'm good. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to our next guest because Asura Azoth is too cowardly to come up. Let's talk to KR Imports. KR Imports, how's it going?
Good, and you, man?
I'm doing all right. KR, do you believe in a God?
I do, a Christian God.
Okay, great. Thank you for being upfront. Why should I believe in a Christian God?
What I wanted to discuss with you, I obviously absolutely love your lives, and I watch them every single day of my life as I get home from work. I really enjoy the intellectual aspect that you bring to things, and it's really makes a benefit to my day. The only thing I don't like is like the other day when you were part of that, where there were 3 people on one. I think it's I'm not sure what that
it's called Unapologetic.
Yes.
Yep.
I have always respected you so much for being such an intelligent person, and you know, for me, it takes away from your brand when the 3 of you start insulting mothers and genitals and things like that.
Okay.
And
well,
I would
look, KR, I appreciate that you feel that way. I understand that it's not for everybody. But if you don't want to have the conversation about the background here, I am going to let you go.
No, 100%. I was just giving you that as a comment first. What I would like to say in terms of that, right? So for me, the whole terms of belief in terms of a Christian God would come from, and I know people have different aspects. I'm not going to Bible bash or anything like that. For me, it comes from a whole systematic approach to it. So for me, in terms of creation, the one thing that I think humans battle understanding is, and it's a thing that's our battle understanding, is in terms of the creation of matter. You know, even if you had a Big Bang or whatever the case is, matter would have to have originated from something. A universe, if it was created, not created, well, for matter to exist, it would have to be created. Forces have to be created. Yes.
Why?
Because where would it come from?
Maybe they always existed.
But how would that be? Because it has to be created for it to exist.
Why does it have to be created? No, not necessarily. You could have stuff that always existed.
It just, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense for things to always exist because
do you hold the same view about God?
I do. So I don't know.
So you don't think God always existed? You think God was created?
No, I do think he was. I do think he was omnipresent and always has existed. And I don't know if you ever watched that. There was a very nice YouTube video on it, and that's where a lot of it makes sense to me. If you look at the holy. Yeah,
I'm just not following that, I guess, because you said that everything needs to be created in order to exist, but you don't think that's true about God. So clearly not everything needs to be created to exist. So why can't matter have not been created and just exists forever?
Because, you know, from our beliefs, I believe he created the matter, he created the universe, and he is the only thing that is outside of it.
I understand that. I understand
Yeah.
that's your belief. I'm asking, why should I believe that?
It's for me, it's hard to force a belief on someone, but
I'm not asking you to
it's
force it on me. I'm just asking you to give me a reason why I should think it's true.
for me personally, it's the most plausible thing as a human being to believe in, because you see,
How do you
for
figure?
the whole thing is the whole, if you look at the world, everyone believes in something. Obviously, I'm saying the majority of your population believe in a god, a deity, in whatever form. You know, obviously there's different religions and stuff.
I mean,
And
there's also atheists who don't believe in that, but sure.
100%. I'm saying the vast majority of people, right? And for me, it literally it gives your life purpose, because what my issue is as an atheist or an agnostic, whatever the case is, how do you justify what the purpose of life is? Why are you here? Are you just literally atoms that are meant to exist and die again type thing, or is there an actual reason for your
I don't think that there's
cells
a
to
reason.
exist?
I don't think that there's like some deep reason. I think that what's true is that there is stuff, and that stuff organizes itself in particular ways, and it sometimes falls apart. Its organization falls apart. Like, I just don't know. I just don't hold the view that there is some deep purpose or something.
Because for me, right, if I can explain my view very quickly, I believe obviously in the Christian God. I believe he created a universe. I do believe, like when you were talking about things like Matthew and zombies and things, I believe that if someone had the ability to create matter, because, you know, obviously as humans, we don't understand everything. And I agree with you there, 100%, right?
Sure.
I think that as far as our understanding goes, you will have different views. Like, you believe what you believe, I believe what I believe, and we
Everybody
should
believe. Lots of people believe different things. But why should I believe that God created? Why should I believe that the most reasonable belief is that God created everything?
I think because, and it's obviously again in my opinion, I think it paints the nicest picture. It's the most plausible story for how everything works.
What you
So
keep saying,
in
most
terms of
plausible. What makes it the
Yes.
most plausible?
I'm trying to just,
Because if it were true that it was the most plausible story for how why the world is the way the world is, then I would believe it. Because that would mean that it's like the most likely thing to be true. So I'm asking, why is it? Why do you think it's the most plausible?
the thing for me is it's accurate with the way the world has progressed and developed, and the way science has worked, and the way that human beings have understood life in general as a whole. For me,
No,
you
it's
were
not.
asking. Well,
It gets so many things wrong.
100%.
So then it's not the most accurate. A naturalistic view would be the most accurate.
100%. But again, even with a naturalistic view that you have, there is no you cannot have a full understanding of the way the universe works. We know a portion of it. We know a portion of the way
Sure.
world works, and
Look,
and with science you can.
In my view, it's better to know some things truly and just not know other things, not know the answer for other questions, than to believe some things that are false.
Yeah. 100%.
And so I'm fine recognizing that perhaps naturalism, some form of naturalism, is perhaps limited, and perhaps naturalism will not get us all the answers, but at least the answers it does get us will be true.
Yes, 100%.
Whereas the answers that you have, the God that you believe in, they're just wrong things. Things that it gets like explicitly wrong about it.
100%. And can I
so
tell
why
you
would
something?
you believe the thing that is why would you believe why would you hold the belief system that leads you to the wrong conclusions?
Because in my head, it is not a wrong conclusion. When you were talking
would you say, do you think that the flood happened?
I do.
Okay. Do you understand that that's not like a real thing? Like all of the scientists agree, like there is no flood that ever happened.
100%.
So do you think that? So what reason do you have for believing that the flood happened?
Okay. So from my perspective, and this goes back to what you were talking about now. When you have an idea that the Bible is 100% accurate, you ask someone, do you believe that absolutely everything there happened, right? I believe a lot of it was a representation. So I believe, I mean, even now, between Christians, you could have 20 people reading the same verse and understand it 20 different ways. I can be the first person to say it's not 100% accurate. Okay?
You're not helping. I'm asking you why you think the flood happened.
Yes. So I believe the flood happened because of pure faith, because that is what we as Christians were told. Yes.
Right, so that's exactly what I mean. It is the case that if you want to be Christian, you want to believe everything 100%, then that means that you have to believe that the flood happened, which is what's happening right here. You believe the flood happened because you want to believe it 100%. But we know the flood didn't happen. This is not a real thing that happened historically. For example, we know that the Egyptians recorded no flood, and we have continuous records from the Egyptians throughout the period that the flood allegedly happened in. Like the Egyptians wrote down lots of stuff, and there is no break in their writings that indicate that a civilization was wiped out, right? That there is no such thing. Which means that the flood didn't even get to Egypt, let alone to Australia or South Africa or Argentina, right? So there was no global flood. We know this for a historical fact. So so here you are forcing yourself to believe this thing because the book says it, which is leading you to an incorrect conclusion about the way the world is.
100%, and that's a perception. But at the same time,
it's
whether
not a
or not
perception. This is a historical fact, right? We have records from Egypt.
No, agreed. But at the end of the day, were there also not scientists that found what they think to be the ark?
No, there are no scientists that did that. No, there's Ron Wyatt and there's church clubs who have made these claims, but these are not scientists.
Okay. No, well then, great. For me as well, if you can ask me about the Bible again, I see it differently in terms of if you think about it as a blank canvas, right? I believe that there is suffering and there needs to be suffering, and it paints a picture. So if you watch movies like The Prince of Egypt and stuff, they actually explain it quite well. They call it like a tapestry with individual threads, which paints obviously a bigger picture. So
I'm sorry, I'm stuck on the flood.
Yes. Okay.
So you understand that we have written records from Egypt, right?
100%.
Okay, so Egypt wrote a lot of stuff. They wrote everything down. We've lost a lot of it, but like a lot of it we have. And you can just find written records for basically any century, any decade that you want. You can find written records in Egyptian record keeping. There are a few exceptions, like a lot of the records of Akhenaten were destroyed after his reign because, reasons. But we still have records from that time, just not about Akhenaten. So the question is, how could there be continuous written records in Egypt if there was a flood that wiped them out at some point during their civilization?
You see, and that's the issue for me from looking at it at a human perspective. Because yes, there are records of that. There are records of Jesus Christ, the man, living, breathing, whatever the case is, right? We can all agree on that. It all depends on your view on that. For me, official writings, although yes, it was documented by various civilizations, different people, etc., it is still a perception. It's an opinion. Even today,
okay, so is it the case that if a flood happened, that it would have wiped out all civilizations everywhere on the planet, with the exception of Noah and his family and the animals on the ark?
Yeah, so that's my problem with it. That's my problem with it, If I think it's a physical flood that physically flooded the earth, no. I told you that I believe that the Bible is true in principle in terms of a flood may be a representation of something, because theoretically you cannot have one family that again repopulated the world and all these animals just came onto a flood, etc., etc. I don't believe that would be 100% accurate as an event that happened. I believe that it is a representation of a deeper meaning. But
so
the principle,
do you think that everything that Jesus believed was true?
I do.
Okay, so Jesus believed that the flood literally killed everybody except Noah and his family.
Yeah, okay, so and that's what I'm saying.
If the flood literally killed everybody, not just like symbolically or metaphorically, but if it literally killed everybody, if that's what Jesus believed, then that means that you think it's true that the flood literally killed everybody, which would have wiped out every single civilization.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Don't say that's not what you were saying. You were saying that you don't think it literally happened.
I said to you that I think a lot of the things in the Bible were meant as representations, not
Okay,
physical.
but Jesus didn't think that the flood was just a representation. He thought it was a real thing that happened. I can show you the verse.
No, that's fine. But at the end of the day, like I'm saying,
No,
a lot
at
of
the end of the
things
day is night. Here's the verse. This is Luke 17, 26 and 27. Just as it was in the days of Noah, so also will it be in the days of the Son of Man. People were eating, drinking, marrying, and being given in marriage up to the day Noah entered the ark. Then the flood came and destroyed them all. This is not symbolic. This is not metaphorical. He is saying that there will be a thing in the days of the Son of Man where people are eating, drinking, marrying, and being given in marriage. That's happening in his view. That's happening now, and that happened right before the flood. And then the flood came and killed everybody. He thinks that actually literally happened. He doesn't think that this was symbolic or a metaphor or anything like that. Jesus thought that the flood literally happened because of course he did. He was a Jew in the first century.
Yeah.
And so if it's true that it literally happened, then that means that the Egyptians would have been wiped out. But they
100%.
weren't.
100%. And I do agree with you. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not fighting that. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying, I have a different perspective on it. I believe in that whole verse as a representation of a principle, not in a physical event. So even the thing is that's in Luke. It's even though Luke or whatever the case is says that
There's references to it in there are references to it in Matthew as well.
Yeah, which is fine. But that's what I'm saying. I still, the thing is for me, and I take that back to the reference as in as different views in terms of perception, because you can have 5 people, even look at things happening nowadays. You can have 5 people witnessing the same event. They will represent it in 5 different ways. So you will have, if you have a war, you'll have media from 3 different countries, and all 3 of them
instructive. This is these are allegedly real quotes from Jesus.
Yeah, allegedly, but there's no actual,
So you don't think that Jesus actually said this stuff?
In terms of a physical flood, I will battle to believe that, and I can 100% agree with you there. I will battle to believe that. The whole thing for me, in terms of, anyone logically to think about it, does the entire world flood and have one family that survived, etc., etc.? I will battle believing that, and I will be the first to agree with you there. What for me, in terms of why I'm a Christian and I believe in that God, is the principles that align with it, in terms of what it stands for and the values that it stands for, and I think that is the best thing to believe in on this planet.
Look, that's fine. You can believe in the values. You can believe in Christian values, whatever those are. My point is that if you think that Jesus was actually the Son of God, then Jesus didn't believe anything that was false. And if Jesus believed that the flood literally happened, but you think that that was false, it follows that Jesus isn't the Son of God because he's believing a false thing.
Well, he claimed to be, didn't he?
Well, no, that's disputed. But the point is whether or not he claimed it, he believed a false thing. And the Son of God could not believe a false thing.
Well, I don't know, and I'm not educated enough on that specific topic to agree or disagree.
So do you believe that Jesus is God?
I do, yes.
Okay. Does God?
I believe in that.
Does God only know true things?
I think he knows all things, true and false.
Okay, so does God believe false things?
What do you mean he believes it?
Like, in principle, if somebody was uninformed on something, they might believe that 2 + 2 is 5. That would be a false thing.
Yeah.
So can God believe false things?
I don't believe that he believes false things, no.
Okay, and Jesus is God, right?
In a form, yes.
Okay, so Jesus doesn't believe false things.
No.
Okay, but Jesus did believe the flood literally happened.
Well, the thing that is difficult for me is gospels are written down as a perception. There's a lot that is fact.
Okay, so then you don't believe the Bible accurately portrays who Jesus was?
Who he was, yes. But
how do you know? A lot of their perceptions.
They are, but the thing is, it's about building your own picture that you can relate to with it. I don't understand you know, the thing is as well, it's like saying, how can you believe in your science because you can't actually prove what happened before this time or that time or whatever, but 99% of it you understand, 99% of it you're comfortable with, but you can't
Yeah, but we
prove
don't know if
either.
we don't know if any of the teachings of Jesus actually happened.
Yeah, well, they're gospels, they're perceptions, and that's what I was saying. For me, it's about what you align to yourself.
Okay,
and for
so it's
me,
not about what's true.
it is about what's true, but you know,
How do you know anything in the Bible is true if it's just all perception?
because a lot of it was historical fact.
How do
A
you
lot
know?
of it was
How do you know?
because it was documented by
But it's all
thousands
just
and thousands.
but it's all just perception, right?
It's not all just taken out the Bible in terms of
Okay, so
historical.
all of the miracles that allegedly happened in the Bible, Jesus rising from the dead, that's only described in the Bible. That's just perception. We don't know that that's true. We can't trust it.
Well, that comes in terms of belief.
Why would you believe
like
something
saying-
if you don't have any reason to trust the source of the belief?
It's the exact same thing as science. It's like saying,
How
how
is
do you
it?
know there was a big? How do you know there was a big
I can
bang?
give you
How can you
evidence.
believe in it?
I can give you evidence, right? I'm asking for
There's
what's
no-
the evidence for
there's no-
believing that
there's-
Jesus rose from the dead, for example.
The evidence is in terms of physical people who saw him from
How do you know
multiple sources.
anybody did? You've already admitted that the Bible is not to be trusted as far as real things that happened.
In terms of 100% trustworthy on the events that happened.
You don't even need 100% trustworthy. You just need any percent trustworthy.
Yeah.
You've already
And that's what I'm
established that, like, look, as far as I can tell, if you can't trust the literal quoting in two different gospels of Jesus describing the days of Noah and, you know, the flood wiping away everybody, if you can't trust that a literal quote happened, that Jesus said a literal quote, then how could you ever trust that Jesus rose from the dead? People say things all the time. It's super believable that Jesus could have said those things. It is super not believable that Jesus rose from the dead, but you prefer to believe that Jesus rose from the dead rather than believe that Jesus believed that the flood happened.
Because the difference is, I believe that a lot of it is a representation, like I said.
Yeah, including Jesus rising from the dead. Is that a representation?
I don't believe that's a representation.
Okay,
because
so
I believe
you pick and choose for the parts that make your worldview work.
theoretically, but I think everyone does that.
But that's not, so then there's no justification. There's no good reason.
Isn't the thing is, isn't that the point of religion? You've got to find what you're happy with, what you're aligned to, and that you believe in and can follow.
Okay, so it
Isn't
sounds
that
like you're
the
telling me that there isn't a reason to believe in God. It just is the one that you like.
It's in terms of that, I believe that you have the right to believe whatever you want and how you want to. And you know, the thing is, I don't think any one human being on this planet can prove anything succinctly.
Okay. Well, KR, I'm going to let you go because it seems like we're kind of at an impasse, but thank you for being here. We just made no progress there. Like, it seemed like he wasn't following the arguments. All right, so we do have Azura. Azura's back. Guys, don't time out Azura. I want him to hear me when I say get in the Discord chat. I will bring you up, Azura Azoth, or whatever your name is. If you want to have a conversation, or Azura Azoth, or whatever your name is, if you want to have a conversation, be adults about it. We can talk about what we believe, what we don't believe, etc. Get in the box. Otherwise, stop running your mouth. From Binary Ghosts, with the $10, the problem is that all of this depends on what is being considered as a god, and we tend to default Jewish, Christian, Muslim belief structures, but like with the three omnis erroneously attached, impossible. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but we live in the West, so like the conception of God is going to be pretty common amongst people in the West, right? From Neural Void with the £5, without natural selection, traits aren't filtered. Mutations stay random, no adaptation, no optimization, no good. Yeah, that's fair. From Not the Bible Jason with the $2, the big foreplay was before the Big Bang. That's a good one. I like that a lot. And now we have 40 Dr. Blitz gift memberships from Carissa, which is enormously generous. Thank you so much, Carissa. And now, because of those gift memberships, now 40 more people now have access to the debate notes that I put together. Those debate notes have just a whole bunch of arguments and sources, and you know, if you're going to have this argument in person, or an argument about flat Earth, or an argument about, you know, whether the Earth is young, or an argument about, you know, MAGA and science, the debate notes might be helpful for you. Those are the arguments I have, and so I've just put together a lot of notes for them. It's like $4 or $5 a month to become a member. And And, you know, obviously you don't have to, but it's a good way to support me. So thank you so much, Carissa. And everybody who got a membership, make sure to thank them. Make sure to thank Carissa. From Christopher Sanford with the £5. This is utterly incoherent. I think the flood happened 100%, but yes, I agree. It didn't happen 100%, but I think maybe it metaphorically happened 100%. Yeah, it wasn't, we weren't going anywhere. From Empiricist with the $2, you're factually wrong, 100%. Look, some people, that's just like how they respond. So I don't want to, you know, that's just part of his dialect, his language. So let's not hate too hard. From Iconoclodge with the $2, this guy's 100% annoying. Stop it, guys. From Binary Ghosts with the $10, easy out for this guy. Jesus was also speaking to an audience and needed to get a message across. You have to reach people where they are, use their own concepts to help them understand yours. Yeah, that's possible, but then Jesus would have been lying, right? From Buddy Christ with the $10, prove what the Bible states is true without using what the Bible itself says. Proceeds to read quotes from the Bible. Why is it so hard for Christians to find a source to what they're pushing? Well, because to them, the Bible is a source, right? All right, so that's everybody. Is Asura Azoth still going off in chat, but too afraid to join? Because if so, then, you know, maybe it's time. Asura Azoth, I didn't know that you were timed out. Apparently you were timed out for spamming. And then the timeout was removed as soon as I mentioned your name. So Asura Azoth, feel free to request up, come up. Be brave, be brave little toaster. Otherwise, your time may have run out. I mean, I know he's still here. He was definitely chatting just a minute ago before I started talking about him. It's always so embarrassing, always so awkward for them. We've called you in. Come join us, Asura Azoth. He's awfully quiet now. Oof. I don't think he'll be brave enough either. Okay, well, we will move on. We'll move on to another guest because Asura Azoth is not brave enough. Let's talk to Grayson. Grayson, how's it going?
Hello.
Howdy.
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Grayson, do you believe in a God?
I do. I believe in the Christian God.
All right. Why should I believe in the Christian God?
I think that the existence of the universe, the existence of anything, is the most convincing argument.
That gets you to a Christian God?
Yeah. Well, I think to get to a Christian God, you have to start with the God in general.
Okay, so how do we get to a God to begin with?
I don't think there is more reason to believe that the universe is eternally existent than there is to believe that a God created it. I think if a God created it, then we can make sense of the rest of history much more.
Why can't you could have a finite past universe while also not having a God that created it? So it just sounds like that you're not offering me a true dichotomy. It's not like either the universe is eternal or a God created it. Yeah, you can have a finite past universe without a creator God.
Could you explain that?
Yeah, let me show you a diagram and it'll make sense. This is the diagram I like. Oops, I don't mean to save that. I want to open it. Oh, that's so low resolution. We want a better one. Okay, it'll have to do. I'm sorry. It's going to be a little low res, but it is what it is. Okay, so here's the picture. So ignore the stuff that's going on the left. It's not relevant for the story I'm about to tell you or for the explanation I'm about to give. But imagine that the blue part, that's the version of the universe that we're familiar with. That's what we would call space-time. And then the yellow part. What does version
of the universe mean?
It's the kind of it's the universe that we're familiar with. It's the thing, you know, we have 3 dimensions of space, 1 dimension of time, right? It's the
not like a multiverse theory or anything?
No, this is not a multiverse anything.
Okay.
Now, the yellow part, see how it like kind of connects in a smooth way to the blue part?
Yes.
The yellow part is also a part of our universe. It's attached. It's not like some separate thing. But in the yellow part, there's only space. So the first moment of time would be the place in this diagram where the yellow part meets the purple part. But so there would still be yeah, go ahead.
So there's space, but there's no time in which the space exists.
Right, in the yellow part. Yeah.
How could that be possible? How could you have something existing outside of
what?
Outside of time. I don't understand, like...
Hold on, just to be clear, you think that God exists outside of time, no?
Yeah, but he's outside the universe, so I don't understand how the universe itself could exist.
Well, this isn't the whole universe. The universe being like the entirety of the four-dimensional manifold. This is just a chunk of the universe. A chunk of the four-dimensional manifold is purely spatial. There's just no time there. I don't understand what's the contention?
I think if you have a space, there has to be a time in which that space exists. Like, you can't say, like, I can't refer to a building and say, like, the building would have to exist at a certain point in time for me to say this space exists.
Why?
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I mean, like, I know the words that you're saying. It's just not clear to me that this is, like, true. That you must have time in order to have space.
If I'm referring to a location, a space, there has to be a time in which that space would exist.
Why?
You would have no ability to... How about I'll just listen to the rest of your argument before I...
Right, so all I'm saying is that this is an example of a model. This was proposed in the 80s. By the way, it sounds like you're a little quiet. Could you give me a quick audio check?
Yeah. Is it any better?
I mean, I can hear you fine, but it seems like the TikTok people are annoyed. So I'll just turn your volume up a little bit. So all I'm saying is that if this is how our universe is, right, and this is a model that was proposed, I'm not saying that it's been proven or anything, but if this is how our universe is, then there is a first moment of time. It's where the yellow part meets the purple part. And yet there is no origin of the universe. There's nothing that brought the universe into existence. The universe just has this four-dimensional structure. It's just part of that four-dimensional structure is a temporal part, and part of it isn't.
So prior to time, how is
there's no
way of measuring.
Do you mean temporally prior to time?
Portion, right?
Do you mean temporally prior to time?
Temporally prior to time. That seems like...
It's nonsense, right? So what do you mean by prior to time then?
So the yellow space in that model is finite.
Yep.
So how could you say it's finite if it wasn't, if there's no way of measuring that length of...
I mean, you can, like, distances are well defined in the yellow part.
Is this what is being measured here? Is it a time thing?
So the way to think about what do you mean being measured? So, like, you can measure spatial distances in the yellow part. All distances, in fact, or I should say all intervals are spatial in the yellow part. In the purple part, there are intervals that are spatial and there are intervals that are temporal.
Sorry, I'm formatting my sentences very poorly. So there's a bottom of the diagram. The yellow part ends at some point.
Yeah.
How could there be an end to something in which time does not exist?
Well, it's the same way as how, like, it's not like a temporal end. It's just like how a basketball has an end, right? The end of the basketball is just, if you move along the basketball, eventually you'll get to the end of the basketball. As you move up to the, like, imagine moving up to the top of the basketball. Eventually you'll get to the end, which is like the North Pole. There's just nothing, there's just no more basketball beyond that. But it's not a temporal thing.
So there's time for the blue portion, and then there's no time, but for some reason it ends. What ends at the bottom of the yellow?
Do you mean so it's not something ending? Ending is a very and maybe you don't mean it this way, but ending is a very time-laden word. This is not something ending. This is just the shape of something.
The shape of the universe?
It's the shape of the spatial part of the universe, yeah.
Shape of the spatial part of the universe. Do you have any idea how this model was constructed?
Yeah, it was constructed by Stephen Hawking and James Hartle in 1984, I want to say, where they were trying to understand how you can have a quantum gravity regime, or they were trying to understand how the path integral for gravity can be made sense of in the very early universe. That's what they were trying to do.
And how did they come to this conclusion? How did
They
they
saw
develop this diagram?
they saw that the only way to get a finite value, I mean, this diagram was drawn by somebody else, but it was like obviously interpreting what they were doing. They saw that the only way to get a well-defined value for the path integral was if you did it's called a Wick rotation, where you take time and you treat it as imaginary, which makes it spatial. And so you end up with this picture in the very early universe, where you have a spatial universe rather than a spatio-temporal universe. But suffice it to say, I mean, the details aren't so important, but what I'm trying to convey is that this is just like a conceptually plausible idea. Even if it ends up being wrong, it's at least not like logically impossible. It's not perhaps it's not even metaphysically impossible. This is something that people have and continue to take seriously.
What caused the transition from just spatial to
It's a
temporal?
geometric fact. It's a geometric transition. And you can see it in the picture too. It's not like a temporal transition. It's just like a geometric feature of the way that the four-dimensional universe that we live in is. That as you wind the clock back, the clock stops being a clock and starts being a ruler. And there's a weird way to make sense of that, but semantically it's a little bit confusing. And the point is that there's a transition. The geometry transitions its direction, basically. You can think of time as being one axis and space as being, time as being, there's a word for this, it's called the signature. You can think of time as being a kind of space that has a different signature. And at this transition point, the signature flips because of the curvature of the universe, basically.
Is that point where it flips identified or just theorized?
Yeah, it's the boundary between the purple and the yellow.
Is like, do we know how long time has existed?
I mean, it depends on the model. If you take this model, you could say that, perhaps the first moment of time was something like 13.8 billion years ago.
With Big Bang?
Yeah, or something slightly before it. We would say it's like with inflation.
Okay. And I assume this is widely accepted, or you just like...
No. This is, so this was an idea that came about in the 80s. And then we made some more discoveries about the way the world is. So the idea kind of fell out of favor. The specific details of the model sort of fell out of favor just because it was incompatible. Like, at the time we thought that in the 80s, we thought that the universe was something called spatially closed, which was compatible with this model. And then in the 90s, we got new data, which led us to conclude that the universe is maybe not spatially closed. So this idea fell out of favor. So this is not, this is something that people still think about, and it still has a minority, there's a minority of people who take it seriously. But there are still people who definitely do take it seriously, especially as a conceptual model rather than as a specific predictive physical model.
Okay, so even if this is my understanding of time and space having to be coexistent is wrong, how does that model demonstrate that why does that model make it more likely that sorry, I'm gonna restart again. Why does that model remove the need for a creator?
Because before the first moment of time, there was just space. And the space doesn't have a beginning, because the space doesn't have time to have a beginning in any way.
The space doesn't have time to have a beginning in any way?
Yeah, so if you follow a trajectory back through time, eventually you end up just in space. In space, if there's no time, there's no, in order to have a beginning, you need time. And if there's no time, then there's surely no beginning. It doesn't even make sense. It's a timeless place. Sure you can. At least according to this model, you absolutely can. You can't physically, but you can imagine tracing a trajectory on a diagram.
It seems like maybe I'm just stupid, but this seems strictly conceptual, not something we're really
this is conceptual.
Fathom.
There is no. It's a little unintuitive. I agree on that, but it doesn't seem like it makes it false.
If there's a beginning to time, there is a period before time.
No, there's a state of affairs that is, say, prior in a non-temporal sense to time. Right. That's the only way that you can have a beginning of time to begin with. You have to have some non-temporal priority.
Prior is still a time word.
Well, no, I'm specifically referring to non-temporal priority. So, for example, we could say that you could have priority in a line, right? If you're standing in line, you have a priority in the line because you're at the front of it. So that's not a temporal sense of priority. That's a spatial sense of priority.
To get from one point to another, you had to pass through that point.
I'm not talking about getting from anywhere to anywhere. I'm just talking about if you and I are standing in a line, the front of the line has priority, right?
Yeah, it's recognized that way. But I mean,
yeah, and so I'm just using priority in the sense that in that sense rather than in a strictly temporal sense. There's like it's hard to describe what we mean by follow a time-like trajectory backwards in time until you reach or until this time-like trajectory becomes a space-like trajectory. It's hard to describe that in like kind of standard English terms. Yeah, so I'm using words like priority, but this is a language failure. This is not like a conceptual failure.
On what grounds is it rejected? If you
so the data that we have suggests that the universe is not closed, meaning that it's not finite in size, which is part of what's required for this version of the model to be true. Now, there are other versions of the model that are much, much more complicated, that have a similar underlying idea, but are not as easily diagrammed this way. But this specific one, the one that Stephen Hawking and James Hartle came up with in the 80s, required that the universe is finite in size. And we now have reason to think that, or we now have good reason to think that the universe is not finite in size. That said, we haven't ruled out that it's finite in size, so there's still room for this to be correct. It's just the data is not pointing in its favor, if that makes sense.
Okay, so just to make sure I'm understanding this concept clearly, there's an infinite space that is empty and absent of time. And then...
No, in this specific model, it's finite. It's a finite size.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So
in this particular model, the universe is finite at all times.
Do you believe this model is accurate?
I think it's at least plausible, or maybe I shouldn't say plausible. I think it's possible. I'm perhaps a little bit more heterodox than a lot of people in my field, but I think that we shouldn't rule this out so quickly.
Do you believe that space is infinite?
I'm agnostic about it. I don't think that we have enough data to come to that conclusion definitively.
Okay.
But look, we don't even have to use that model. I have a whole book. I didn't write this book. I promise I'm not shilling for it. I have a book. It's called The Battle of the Big Bang. It's just a really good book. I've spoken with one of the authors. He's a cosmologist. He's a very smart guy. And in it, they describe 25 different explanations for why the Big Bang happened, whether or not there was a beginning, whether or not there was stuff before the Big Bang, whether or not the universe has always existed. There's like a table at the back detailing all of the different models that they describe in the book. And none of them involve a god. So it's not just the universe either always existed or there's a god. There's a whole bunch of other options.
When we say universe, are we referring to the space or the matter?
The entirety of physical reality.
So including matter, time?
Oh, whatever is physical reality, it's included.
Which I'm trying to clarify. That would include time, right?
It depends on, that's a contentious, generally I would say yes. But, you know, some philosophers would say that time is not like physical, but rather there's like some, you know, it's some like relational thing, or, you know, there's like a whole philosophy of like what time is, but we don't have to have that conversation. The point is if we talk about presumably you and I agree that the Big Bang happened, right? There was that the universe was very, very small and then it expanded. The question is, was there a cause for that? That was physical. Does that cause extend backwards forever? Or does that cause itself not have a cause, like in the example that I gave with the Hartle-Hawking state? So there's a whole bunch of different ideas about this, but none of them require a god.
Okay, so I'm sure there are plenty of ideas, but if I'm trying to convince you, what do you believe about
I'm agnostic. I don't hold a strong view about the origins of the universe. In fact, this
physical matter?
No, I don't. I mean, like the atoms and stuff. Atoms were made like 13.8 billion years ago, a few seconds after the Big Bang. Like atoms didn't exist prior, but like there were like saying that there are likely electrons before that, yeah, probably. And, you know, inflatons, if inflation is true. The question about all of that stuff is, I'm pretty agnostic about it, because like this is one of the areas of research that I do. So like one of the things I'm working on right now is just a completely new model, because I'm curious to see what kinds of things are possible mathematically, what kind of things are not possible mathematically that we can make sense of. So like, I'm agnostic because being agnostic means that I'm not committed to any one view, so I can explore a lot of different views. And we just don't have enough evidence to say one way or the other what the correct answer is at this point.
So what evidence would be sufficient for you to come to a conclusion?
If we saw gravitational wave tensor modes, for example, that would give us some strong evidence that, like, you know, that would rule out, and depending on how those tensor modes behaved, that would rule out some models and favor other models. For example, so that would be like a type of precision measurement done on the cosmic microwave background radiation that would either tell us that there indeed was stuff before the Big Bang, or that there wasn't. If we had a theory of everything, if string theory ended up being true, then we would have a very good way of figuring out what was going on before the Big Bang. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways that we could come to the evidence. It just depends on what ends up being true. That would affect what the evidence looks like.
Okay, so if you are agnostic about the beginnings of the universe, if there was a beginning, what causes you to doubt the existence of a God? What makes that not a plausible answer to that question?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, minds, which God would be an example of a mind, minds are things that definitely do require time. Because minds are not just a static thing. Minds are temporal. They are processes, right? They have thoughts, they have wills, they take actions, they have agency. I would say that a mind without temporality would be a book, not a mind, not something that's able to do something. And so if the position is that the God exists timelessly, exists outside of time, and is yet able to do things or able to have thoughts, seems like it's in contradiction with the way that I understand what a mind is. Of course, there's secondary effects once you start introducing Christianity. Like, the problem of evil is pretty killer to any form of Christianity that isn't just agnostic theism. And so it just seems like that a God seems very, very implausible unless it's nothing like a mind that if it's not a mind, theism itself seems like it requires a completely different notion of a mind than what we mean when we say that God is a mind. Christianity seems to fail on that line and on the deeper lines that involve theology.
I think that the Christian representation of God is certainly limited by human ability to understand. Like, we believe that God is transcendent to us in every way, so we can't really fully grasp God. If we could, he wouldn't be God. So every representation of God is sort of reduced in a sense that makes it more understandable for us. So to some extent, I think I agree with what you're saying about our understanding of, like, the mind of God being completely different than every other mind.
It's just incorrect to call it a mind, right?
I mean, I don't think I wouldn't use the word incorrect. I mean, I think it's
it's just not a mind. Like the way that we understand this word, it has none of those characteristics.
It doesn't have any of those. What characteristics does it not have?
It doesn't have agency. Agency is a thing that happens. Happening requires time. It doesn't have thoughts, because thoughts are processes that happen in the mind, and if there's no time, then there's no processes that can happen.
Right, so is time the big thing that gets you? Is that something you're pretty fixed on?
The timeless bit. Yeah, I don't think that you can have a mind in a timeless setting.
But
I think that you can have stuff. You can have stuff in a timeless setting. It's just not going to be mental.
Do you believe that there was a timeless setting, a timeless state of affairs?
Without using the word was, I'm not I'm not convinced. But if you are a theist, then you're obligated to believe that there was, correct? Namely, there was a state of affairs where God had not created the universe. And presumably that includes time along with it. God is supposedly timeless,
I believe
right?
It was all, my present understanding, obviously I don't know as much as you do, but that all those things came into existence at the same point, space, time, and matter.
Right. No, I understand that. But the point is that there was a state of affairs where God had not created those things, where God existed alone, and that would include time. There was no time in that state of affairs, and so that's one of the big issues. It seems like the way that people talk and the way that people conceptualize God is not possible if that God is also timeless.
I think the Christian idea of timeless is outside of our time. Like,
do you think that there's like a God time that's like on top of our time?
I mean, that's the only way we can conceptualize it. I don't think we're capable of really.
Where did God time come from?
Say it again.
Where did God time come from?
I think the rules of the universe are different than the rules that are applied to God. I don't think those really exist. God's only bound by his character.
So God's not bound by God time.
God time is not like a real thing that exists. It's just like a concept for us to understand.
Okay, but then it's just not clear to me how it exists. If God time, like if you want to say that there is a version of time that's like meta time or something like that, and God exists eternally in meta time, and then at some point in meta time, God decided to make our universe, and our universe has its own little timeline, but he sees the whole thing. You could say that. That's one view that you can hold. It's definitely not the Christian view, but you could say that. And then you don't have.
I wouldn't say that.
But then you don't have the issue of having a mind in a timeless realm, let's say. But if you're going to insist that God is somehow capable of having a mind, but also being timeless, I don't think that that's possible. I don't even know what it would mean for a mind to be timeless.
Okay, I think I kind of get what you're saying. I mean, the idea of him making a decision is that kind of the core of the issue?
It's a process, right? Yeah. Making a decision or having thoughts, right?
I don't think there's a point in time where bad start. I don't think that God made a decision in the sense that he was not certain of something and became certain of something. That he wasn't going to take a course of action, decided to do that. I think
if he never did that, then it seems like it never happened.
I don't think he made a decision. I think because
he did something, right?
Yeah, he created time.
Doing things. It seems like doing things is a thing that only happens when time exists.
Time in respect to us, relative to us, yeah.
No, just time in general, right? Like you need time in order to do anything.
This may be a bad example, but I'm going to try and help contextualize this a little more. So when we create like a video game, time passes in that video game.
Yeah, this is the meta time view.
In that video game.
This is what I brought up earlier, right? This is the meta time view, right?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Because like the person who makes the video game, they have their own time, right? There's the clock on the wall and it's ticking as they're coding or whatever it is. They have their own time where they can make decisions, take actions, whatever. And then they make like a video game time that ticks on its own, and you can change the rate at which it ticks. You can fast forward, you can rewind, whatever it is. But you said that that's not what you believe.
Say it again. Sorry.
You said that that's not what you believe. You don't think that there's like this meta time that God exists in so he can do stuff.
What I was saying I don't believe is that God made a decision specifically.
If God didn't make a decision, then God didn't. I mean, presumably in order to do something, you have to make a decision to do the thing, right?
I think it was always established in his mind that he would create in this way and these things would happen in creation.
Okay, so that was always being done? That was always his mental state?
Yeah. Because he's outside of time, he's existing.
Was there ever a time where was there ever a state of affairs where God held that mental state, but the universe did not exist?
He held the mental state that he would create?
Yeah, but the universe did not exist.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's still existing in.
So then the decision is not, am I going to create or am I not going to create? The decision is, I'm going to stop being uncreated. Or I'm going to stop being alone, rather. That's the decision. Right? And maybe I can formalize this for you. Can I make a formal argument that maybe will clarify my concern?
Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay. Just gonna pull up a notepad. You can see what I'm doing. Okay, so let's say that we have premise 1, God has a mind. Probably pretty unobjectionable, right?
Not as we would conceive of it, but
has a mind in some sense.
Yeah.
And so premise 2, minds have either changing mental states or an unchanging mental state. Sorry, one sec, my A key just popped off. Okay, and this is a true dichotomy, right? Either something is changing or unchanging, right?
Yep.
Premise 3. So we get a conclusion from this, which is God has either a changing mental state or an unchanging mental state, right? That trivially follows. Okay, so then we have premise 4. We'll call that conclusion 1. Premise 4: change only occurs in time. This is perhaps contentious, but you can take this as a definition of change or a definition of time, depending on which one you don't like, right?
Okay.
Premise 5: God exists absent or outside of time. Whatever that means. There is no time passing for God, right?
Yep.
The conclusion is that God has an unchanging mental state. This follows from this conclusion here, and change only occurs in time, and God exists outside of time, right? We'll call that conclusion 2. And we have premise 6: acting upon one's will changes one's mental states. And I'll give an example here. The example being, we have a mental state from I have the will to do X and have not done X to I have fulfilled my will of doing X, right? That's the change that I'm talking about when you act upon your will. There's just a different state of affairs, right? That's taking place in the mind. And so conclusion: God has an unchanging mental state. Acting upon one's will changes one mental state. This implies that God cannot act upon his will. And so then we say premise 7, an agent is a being that has a will and can act upon it. And then we get to the conclusion that God is not an agent. And then we say that P8, a mind is an agent. It's not that they're equivalent, but a mind is a kind of agent, or rather an agent is a kind of mind, or perhaps there's some relationship there. So we get the conclusion that God is not a mind. Or rather, God does not have a mind, I should say. And so we get to a contradiction. So that's the line of thinking that I'm doing here, and why something seems off here.
Yeah, I think it starts with P4. P4 is kind of questionable. But
change only occurs in time. I mean, like you can. So we can perhaps understand change in a different way. You can understand spatial changes, right? Like this place is different from that place. But that's.
Yeah, but I don't think that's. Inherent or necessary.
But that's not the kind of. So what kind of?
I really disagree.
Oh, P5 is
really uncertainty comes in. I think,
P5?
Yeah, I think that is where.
Oh. But you said that you don't believe that. That you don't believe that God exists in.
No, I said I don't believe that God made a decision. I don't believe he.
I was talking about earlier. You said that God doesn't, or you said that you don't believe that God exists in like meta time or something.
I might not have been very clear there. Maybe I did misspeak. What I was trying to say in that moment was that I do not believe God made a decision. And I was trying to confirm that he was unchanging, that he didn't go from uncertainty to certainty. I think it's possible he exists outside of time. I think it's possible there is like another layer of time. That conception I'm not.
I mean, so look, you can hold that view, but then it just seems like what we're doing is we're complicating the view in order to fit a God in. We're adding this extra layer of meta time, say. And if you don't want to add the extra layer of meta time, then it seems like we have an issue with, then it seems like that we're running into the same problem that we were talking about before, namely that how can something change absent time? And here we're talking about the mental states changing.
I would agree that God's unchanging, but I don't think we can fully understand how God operates and all of his characteristics. So I don't think we could. It seems like an unrealistic expectation to say like, oh, you're like fitting this in. I mean, he's beyond us, so we can't fit him into anything.
I mean, but look, surely if God has a mind, then God has mental states. Otherwise, God's not a mind. A mind is a thing with mental states, kind of by definition, right?
Changing mental states?
No. So just mental states, period. Maybe you can have a mind that has unchanging mental states and it's just completely just one mental state that's never, that's always the same, right? Sure. But P6 seems like it's pretty, like it just seems like kind of obviously true. If you're going to act upon your will, which is what God does when God creates, God has a will, God acts upon that will, then, and you agreed that there was a state of affairs where God existed absent time, and there was a state of affairs, I imagine that you also agree that there's a state of affairs where God exists and time also exists?
Yeah, but he's still outside of it.
Yeah, sure. But like, so there's a state of affairs where God has not yet created. I don't want to say yet in a temporal sense, but there's a state of affairs where God has not created. There's a state of affairs where God has created. So there is initially we could say that God, when God has not created, we would say that God has the will to do X and has not, or God has the will to create and has not created. Because if God had created, then it wouldn't be the case that God would be alone. And then after, in the state of affairs where God had already created, then God has the mental state of, I've fulfilled my will of creating. And that's a change. The mental states are, it goes from one to the other. And so how can you have that change if God is outside of time?
If he's outside of time, then he is existing across, there's that period of time where God and time are coexistent. We agree. So
yeah, but God's outside of it the whole time anyway.
Existing in all the moments in which time also exists.
God doesn't exist in any moments.
I thought all the moments after time exist.
God doesn't exist in any moments. Moments are time things, and God's outside of that.
It's just a limited language, I think.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah, sure. I thought you were. Yeah, that's fine. But what I'm getting at is that it seems like God's mental states changed. It must have changed.
So if he's, I didn't finish what I was saying. So
go ahead.
If he exists in all moments before time and all the moments in which time also exists, so he exists in the moments prior to creation.
Yep.
It's accurate for him in those moments, again, a limit of language, to say, I am going to create, I have not yet created. But he also is existing in the moment where creation exists and he exists. So I have fulfilled my will. Those things are always occurring at the same time. They're always occurring.
So it cannot be the case that he holds both mental states or both mental states simultaneously or jointly, because these are mutually contradictory.
In a different, again, limited language, but moment. God in this moment.
But it just sounds like, so I know you're saying this is a limit of language, but it seems like the only way to rescue this is to invoke that God's mental states are changing moment to moment.
Is not a change moment to moment because he's not progressing through anything.
His mental states are.
Moment. Say it again?
His mental states are. His mental states are different in one his mental states are different in one moment and from another moment.
He's not moving through moment to moment.
His mental states are different at different times.
It's his mental states are all encompassing because he encompasses all of time and everything before time.
You can say that, but I mean, it sounds like you just agreed that his mental states, instead of saying moment, let's say his mental state in state of affair A is different from his mental state in state of affair B.
What is the difference between state of affair A and B?
In state of affair A, God is alone. In state of affair B, there is God, and there is also, the physical universe.
But time has to occur for those things to be different. So there has to be a temporal difference between those two.
I mean, yeah, that's the contention. Somehow something is happening without time.
It just seems, I don't see how that's relevant. You're not taking away the time component. You're just using different words.
Well, look, the reason I'm not using the time words is because, presumably you're suggesting that there's some way that time can be created, right? I don't think that time can be created, period. I think that that's where the problem is. And what I'm pointing out is that in order for anything to happen, let alone for time to be created, because that would be an example of something happening, in order for anything to happen, change must already exist in reality. And if change is already existing in reality, then that means that you already have time. I should say temporal change already exists in reality if you have something happening.
I'm still not quite seeing the distinction here. It seems like it's still a time word. A state of affair.
Look, you can have two different states of affairs.
Time is not.
So maybe I can clarify. Look, imagine that like you could have two different states of affairs that are just in different places. Like imagine that the universe is timeless and there's just two different places and there's stuff A over here and stuff B over here. The state of affairs here is different from the state of affairs over here. But you wouldn't say that this one became this one or this one changed into that one. They're just in different places, different states of affairs, different and you know, different stuff going on. But when we talk about something happening, like creating time, that's not that is a temporal change in the state of affairs, right? We are not talking about like a spatial difference in the state of affairs or a geometric difference in the state of affairs. We're talking about a temporal difference in the state of affairs. So if you want to talk about something happening at all, then you need to already have time exist. So it doesn't really make sense to talk about time being created.
Time with respect to the universe was created.
Okay,
The
but
universe did not exist.
you already agreed that you don't think that there is some like meta time. And like, if you do think that there's meta time, that's fine. That
I did
evades
not
this
agree to
argument.
that. We've gone over this before.
Okay, so you think that the meta time is possible?
Yes, I said that.
Okay, if the meta time is possible, then where did the meta time come from?
I think the meta time would just be another layer of with respect to. It's
I don't know what that means.
like, as we conceive of time, it's time with respect to the universe. And then when we're saying like meta time or God's time, it's God's experience with respect to our understanding of time.
I don't
There's
know.
a period where our understanding of time is limited to the beginning of the universe, but there is, in a sense, time before that.
Yeah, so if you want to say that, then God is just a being that exists in meta time.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that
I
does
think that's a
evade this
possible-
issue. But then God isn't timeless. God is just outside of our version of time.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
But then God
I
isn't
think
timeless.
That's a perfectly valid interpretation. I understand.
Okay, so it's not so it seems like in order to escape this issue with time being created being a temporal thing to begin with, it seems like it requires that you abandon the idea that God is timeless.
In our understanding of time, all I was trying to confirm there is that he's not created and he's not changing as we experience creation and change.
Well, he's not changing in our time, but he's changing in God time.
I don't think it's fair to call it change because he's existing in every moment simultaneously.
That's not super clear. It's not super clear to me what that means, right? If he's existing in every single moment simultaneously, then then it seems like he doesn't have a mind, right? A mind is a thing that progresses in some sense. Now you could say the sum total of all mental states that you could say that God is the sum total of all of the mental states that happen through time. But that's just like you could say the same thing about us. Like I am the sum total of all the mental states that will happen between my birth and my death.
But you are not presently experiencing all of those circumstances.
Well, I'm just
and all
experiencing them
those
at different times in the same way that God is experiencing different things at different times.
No, I think I would disagree. I mean, you are not experiencing the exact same circumstances now.
Look, and what we're getting at is what you're kind of alluding to is a B theory of time, and so it's just true that when I was me being 4 years old exists. It just exists in the past, and me being 50 years old, it exists. It just exists in the future, and all of those moments of my life exist. They really exist. They're really real. They just exist at different times, and it sounds like that's what you're alluding to with regards to God's experience.
The difference being that he's existing in that moment presently. He's experiencing that right now.
You can't. If there's time, there's only one. Like for a given individual, there's only one present, right? You can't be experiencing the past presently, otherwise it wouldn't be the past. It'd be the present.
As we would understand time, yeah, we're finite in time, but he's beyond time, so he can't experience.
Well, we are extended through time. We exist in an extended way through time for 80 years or whatever. And so, but that doesn't mean the past is not the past and the future is not the future.
With respect to you right now.
With respect to now, yeah, they're all equally real. We just make my mental state right now, my mental the mental state at this moment or at this place in space time. views the prior moments of space-time as the past and the future moments of space-time as the future. But in the future, it will view now as the past. And it, like, whether it's the past, the future, or the present, that's not like a genuine distinction, but it is a distinction of experience. It sounds like you're saying that somehow there is a genuine distinction there, but there's also no distinction of experience. And this seems kind of like, it seems incoherent to me. Like, I don't know how you can have a thing that exists that exists throughout all of time, but also changes. Like, the mental states change.
I don't think the mental states change.
When we talk about a thing changing, what we mean is that at different moments of time, the things are different, right? At least that's what we talk about when we mean temporal change.
There's no experience of movement from one state to another. That's required for change. I never moved.
I don't think that it requires experience at all. Like, like a tree can grow. A tree can change in time, and a tree doesn't have any experience whatsoever.
I was referring specifically to a mind, but
yeah, I don't know how you could have change, or I don't know how you could not have experience if you're a mind and also exist in time.
He does have experience. But
he does have experience.
Changing from one experience.
What does it mean to experience all moments? What does it mean to experience different moments of time simultaneously? What does that mean?
I don't think we could really understand it because it's.
Then why would you say it?
Us. To some level, I think it's just beyond us.
But then then you're not conveying any meaning, because I don't know what you mean, you don't know what you mean, so these are just like sounds that you made with your face hole.
I mean, in the same way, like earlier we were discussing just space apart from time.
Mm-hmm.
And in that way we were limited by our understanding of time in our discussion of that.
Well, I don't think that there's a conceptual limitation there. It's just hard to talk about because most of the language that we use is temporally based. But like, I can give you like the exact mathematical description of like what I'm talking about here in that particular case, and like it's totally conceptually fine. There's just like the way that we like talk about things colloquially, it's very, very hard to convey.
You think those things do have a concrete meaning, a concrete understanding?
Yeah, absolutely. Like what happened when I was struggling to convey the ideas to you is not my failure to understand it, because I actually like I'm actually familiar with the mathematics here. The issue is the issue is that it's my struggle to convey to somebody who isn't, in like, you know, standard English words in like with their standard English meanings. That's the hard part. That's where that's why like it was hard to communicate about this. But it wasn't because there was like a failure to understand or like an inability to understand. But here you're telling me that there is just this thing that like not only is it hard to communicate, it's not even understandable.
I don't think we could have a perfect understanding of God. I think
I'm not asking for perfect. I'm asking for at all an understanding of what it means for like what God's relationship is with time.
He's at all an understanding would be he's outside of it.
But that doesn't, like, if you say that God is outside time, then if we try to understand that, like what that means, well, then we end up with like incoherency after incoherency. But then you say, okay, well, but that's not what I meant by outside of time. I meant some other thing. And now I just don't know what you mean anymore.
My initial statement, God is outside of time, was meant to protect against the argument that God was created and that God changes.
Right. I understand why you said it. I understand why people say it. But if the counter argument is, you know, after sufficient investigation just becomes incoherent, well, the counter argument fails. Like, you can say that to be like, but he's outside of time, he doesn't change. But then if we think about that a little bit more, we're like, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense either.
I'm still not seeing the disconnect. I mean, to me, it seems like you're trying to put God in time by saying his experience has to change.
Well, I mean, his mental state does change, right? His mental state, there are two different states of affairs where the mental states go from one mental state to another mental state. We know that that is something that must happen if God created the universe.
He does not go from one to another. He exists in all, so both are true.
So he can't hold both mental states, right? They're mutually contradictory.
God in this state of affairs A, is different than God's experience in state of affairs B. So
right, that's a change.
No, again, I asked you this earlier. You said state of affair A. The difference between state of affair A and state of affair B is there's not a connection going from one to another.
Okay, so this is like some different kind of this. So this is a change, just not a temporal change.
I would need to. I think that's okay.
If it's if it's not a temporal change, what kind of change is it? And this isn't a trick question. I'm just trying to figure out the view. Like, you know, there are spatial changes. Of course, you can have differences in from place A to place B, and you could say that the description at place A has changed from place A to place B, but that's a spatial difference, not a temporal difference.
Yeah, the state of affairs is this.
Right, but what kind of change is it here? Like, what is the change indexed to?
I suppose in that specific instance of I have not created to I have created, it's the state of affairs of the universe. The universe does not exist. The universe does exist. So
what kind of change would that be?
Of the state of affairs, huh?
Well, so what you're describing is the change, not what the change is indexed to.
I suppose it would be. What is a valid index here? I think the universe is a valid index, is it not?
Well, no, but the universe is the thing that's doing the creation of the universe is the change itself, right? It wouldn't make sense to say that, okay, so just as an example, the universe doesn't exist, so you can't index to the universe if the universe doesn't exist yet, right?
Okay.
So when I say index, what I mean is like when I say index, and this is just for clarification, I mean, I'm sure you know, but for the people who are watching, what I mean is that like we can talk about temporal change, and that's indexed to like the time on a clock, right? So you would say that the time, or that this changed and then that changed, and the change is indexed to how the time that on a clock, reads a different time. So that's the index. Like you can input a time and you get what the state was at that time, and you input a different time, you get a different state. You can talk about spatial indexing. So you say that it's this way here and that way there. I'm asking what's the indexing happening here for like the universe going from non-existent to existent, or God's mental state going from haven't created to have created.
I don't think that is. What is there prior to space, time, matter that could be indexed to? I don't.
That's the problem.
It's a nonsense question.
That's the problem. Then you can't have. Then there's no change. Changes are indexed. I don't know what it means to have change if there's nothing to index to.
There was no change prior to the universe.
It seems like that there's no change if like. It seems like that there's no change at all. So in the state of affairs where God didn't exist, there's no change, period, right? Sorry, in the state of affairs where the universe didn't exist, there's no change, period. And yes. So how could it then change to have a universe? How could God's mind then change to I have created?
It isn't a change of his mind, because
the state of affairs it necessarily must have changed. Otherwise, look, okay, suppose that there's not a change. Maybe we can just be a little bit more explicit here. Suppose that God has mental state A. A mind has mental states, right?
Okay.
So God has mental state A. We want it. So it sounds like you want to say God has mental state A, and God has mental state B. And you don't want A and B to be indexed. I don't know, temporally. You don't want them to be indexed spatially, whatever. So I
think it's impossible to not do that. I think you have to.
So then he can't have mental states. Then, because he can't index them to time or space or whatever.
I think the only way we could discuss the change of a mental state is with respect to time.
I'm not saying anything about a change. I'm talking about God has mental state A, God has mental state B. God has one mental state, which is I have the will to do X and have not done X. And the other is I've fulfilled my will of doing X, right? Those are two separate mental states. One's A, one's B. right?
Yep.
Okay. Now you want to say something like God has both of those mental states.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, those mental states are clearly contradictory, right?
Yeah.
So are you telling me that God has contradictory mental states?
If the situation is not changing, if the circumstances are the mental state A for God, state of affairs prior to the existence of the universe.
Yep.
His understanding that the universe does not exist in that state of affairs is accurate. And he exists in that moment. So it's accurate for him to say that. In present state of affairs, the universe does exist. State of affairs B, the universe does exist. So God's assessment that the universe exists is accurate. He's existing in both of those state of affairs at the same time. So both state of affairs are accurate.
It just seems like that there was. So surely the first state of affairs doesn't exist now, right?
As we understand it, it doesn't. We are not experiencing it. It does not exist for us. No.
And
God is the only being.
God doesn't have that mental state now, right?
He does, because
God has a mental state that he has not created.
He exists in that state.
But I'm talking about in the state of affairs where he has created. Does he have the mental state where he has not created?
It's his mental state is not bound by time. So I mean, I think this is kind of a specific example of something that I don't even think God is really. I don't think it's a necessity that God is conceiving of this, because
I mean, he conceives of all true things, right?
Both state of affairs are true for him.
He conceives of all true things, or he knows all true things, right? His mental state would reflect all true things. And so there was one state of affairs where it was true, where he had not created, and there was another state of affairs where it was true that he had created. Right?
Yes.
And so it just seems like that what we're talking about is the thing changing.
If he only exists in one moment.
Well, it can't be that he experiences those simultaneously.
Why not?
Because then he's holding two contradictory views simultaneously.
God, prior to the state of affairs where the universe is created, accurately understands that he has not yet created the universe.
But while he holds that understanding, does he also understand that he has fulfilled his will of creating the universe?
When you ask that question, then you're introducing the element of time.
No, I'm not asking. No, I'm just asking. So, in the state of affairs, so God has a mental. Actually, hold on. No, there's a deeper issue. There's kind of two ways that this could go, I guess. It sounds like, on the one hand, you want to say that God doesn't have states of affairs. God doesn't have mental states that correlate with states of affairs. On the other hand, it sounds like you're kind of saying that God's mental states do correlate with states of affairs.
I think the second is what a...
Okay, so you want to say that God's mental states correlates with the state of affairs, right?
Yes.
Now, as the state of affair changes, which it does, there was a state of affairs where there was no universe, and there was a state of affairs where there is a universe, and that's a change. Like those two things are distinct. One could say that they change, perhaps not temporally change, but there's still a change there. Then that means that God's mental states change. They change with the state of affairs.
I'm not really sure I feel like I've said this a couple times, in that he exists in every state of affairs, in every moment. Again, that's a limit.
Okay, but his mental state is changing with the state of affairs.
If he exists in every state of affairs, he holds every mental state. So he's never. There's no.
I don't know what this means.
What?
I don't know what it means for him to exist in every state of affairs. Is there a state of affairs? Yeah, I guess I don't really know what that means. Could you explain what that means?
He's outside of time. He's outside of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So a being of that nature, of which there's only one, God, is
well,
able
that's to be decided, but sure.
Say it again.
I mean, that's to be like you still would need to get there. That's something else that would have to be argued for. But sure, no, that there's only one.
Oh yeah. I'm just presenting the Christian position. Is that
sure?
There's one God. He's the only being outside of time, space, matter.
Sure.
And a being of that nature outside of the universe exists in every state of affairs. Because he's outside of time, he exists in all conditions simultaneously.
I don't see how that follows. Because he's outside of time, he therefore exists in all state of affairs, including those in time.
I think that's by necessity true. I mean,
how does that follow at all? It seems like that you're in no states of affairs if you exist outside of all states of affairs.
His existence is not bound to time. He exists regardless of time.
Well, sure, but that doesn't mean that he exists simultaneously whatever that means for a mental state that is not bound to time, but it doesn't mean that he experiences all states of affairs equally. And, you know, like, I don't see how that follows at all.
If he exists in time is a thing that exists with respect to the universe. All of those moments, because he's not bound to time, are moments that he can observe. Right
sure,
now.
Maybe he's aware of them. Sure, he's definitely not in those states of. He's definitely not in them though.
In them, in that he's. What do you mean in them?
He's outside of time, so he's not in it.
In it, as in subject to it.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. He's not subject to time, so he is able.
But that
to
doesn't mean that that
outside
doesn't mean that he's in all states of affairs. Those two things are kind of just unrelated.
So he is able to look into time at any moment because he's outside of time.
Sure, but that's not the same as experiencing all states of affairs. States of affairs are the reason why we use this language is because it's a way of talking about things, even ways the universe or even ways reality could be when there is no time. I say when in a colloquial sense, not in a literal sense. So him being able to observe any moment of time is separate from him experiencing all states of affairs.
All states of affairs, meaning
includes non-temporal ones.
Say it again.
States of affairs include non-temporal ones.
So any condition that the universe could be in.
Any condition that the sum total of reality, whether or not there's a universe, there's still reality. I imagine you believe, because God existed and God is real in your view. But it seems like that the state of affairs. It seems like it's not the case that just because God can observe any moment of time means that he exists in all state of affairs. Or rather that he experiences all state of affairs. Unless there is some... Yeah, because if God experienced all state of affairs, then either his mental states are indexed to different states of affairs, and the state of affairs are obviously different from each other, so there's a change between states of affairs. In which case, God has a change in his mental states. Or God's mental states are not indexed to states of affairs, and then God cannot hold two mutually contradictory mental states simultaneously. Now, you want to say the first one, which is that God's mental states are indexed to states of affairs or something like that. Which just means that those mental states are changing. They change with as the state of affairs. If the state of affairs are different, then the mental states are different.
My position is that God is outside of the universe. Outside of time.
I know.
So, I'm sorry. I know this is very repetitive, but this is much more for my benefit than yours. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Because he's outside of time, he's able to observe any moment of time. And I believe he's observing all moments of time at the same time, and also all moments outside of time.
What does it mean to observe every moment of time at the same time?
To be aware of what is happening.
Oh, I know what the observe means. I mean the at the same time part.
If he's outside of time, then he's not limited to doing one thing at time, because that wouldn't make sense. He's outside.
But there's no time period. How is he doing anything at the same time is a meaningless conception.
Yeah, I know.
There's only
like it's just
look and am I correct in understanding your view that you think that there is no meaningful way for God's mental states to be different between any states of affairs? Or no, I'm sorry. You think that the mental states do differ depending on what the states of affairs are?
His observation of the universe differs.
So are you just so you're indexing the mental states to the state of affairs?
I think that's accurate.
So it seems like just the state of affairs then provide a notion of time for God's mental states changing.
But the state of affairs of what? Of the universe?
Of reality. The sum total of all things that exist.
Yeah, I think that's by necessity true.
But now you're just saying God has metatime. That's what metatime is. It's just a way of ordering the state of affairs.
You could say there's an infinite state of affairs before the existence of the universe, in which God is the only thing that exists, and I would agree with that statement.
But now we're just back to metatime. And if God is in metatime,
again,
that is what metatime is.
A while back, I think that's a viable understanding.
Right. But if God is in metatime, then insofar as we understand the word change, God is changing. God changes in metatime, not in our physical time, but God changes as metatime proceeds.
He's not. If he exists, do you understand what I mean by he exists in all of those moments? If time
in the same way that I exist in all of the moments of my life.
No, I mean he's not progressing through. He can't progress through an infinite number of things.
I don't take time as a thing to be progressed through, by the way. I take time to be just a thing that exists, and then you exist at all moments of your life. And different moments of your life, you have different experiences, you have different mental states.
I think you are.
I don't think that it requires progressing through in order for you to be in time, or metatime, for that matter. Like you can still be in time without progressing. Like you can have, like under the B theory of time at least, there just is this, like all moments of time equally exist, and those moments of time have different mental states associated with them. That's what we call temporal change. We can call it temporal progress if you want. The temporal progress is the distinction between moments of time, but I don't think that this is like an active time I don't think that this is an active thing that you're like flowing through, and God doesn't flow through it. God just exists in all of it, and we're only at a single point. I think that we're in all of it. What we call progress of time is just this kind of this distinction between two adjacent space-time events.
As finite beings, we're only capable of experiencing one moment at a time. Would you agree?
Kind of by definition, I would say that you can't experience two moments at a single time, because then there'd be two moments, not one moment.
Yeah.
So this doesn't seem like this is a finite being problem. This seems like this is just what we mean when we say experience a moment. When you experience a moment, of course it's just one moment, because you're experiencing it now, and not now and then. The moment is tied to the time.
But since God is outside of time with respect to the universe.
Yep, but he's in metatime.
Possibly in metatime. That's a potential understanding.
Mm-hmm.
He is able to experience every state in which the universe is in.
But not every state of mental time. Or sorry, not every state of metatime.
Why is he not?
Because he's in meta time.
But he's not finite. He's not confined to a single moment in the way that we are confined.
Not confined to a single moment of physical time. But if his mental states are changing with the meta time clock, then it sounds like he definitely is.
It's the difference here is not that he's not in time or he is in time. The difference is that he's an infinite being and we're finite beings.
That doesn't seem like it's the relevant difference. I don't see how being infinite makes it so all of a sudden you can experience more than one moment in one moment.
Infinite is not a spatial thing, or
okay, then I have no idea. I have no idea what sense of infinite you're talking about. Then
infinite is in spanning all moments of time.
I mean,
that's a realm of
look. So whether or not you span all moments of time, or you only span some segment of time, it seems like that wouldn't change your ability to experience those moments.
Come again?
Look, so I span for 80 years-ish, I hope. You know, I've spanned for at least 32 years, let's say I keel over tomorrow, then then my life has a span of 32 years. That doesn't mean that I experience all 32 years simultaneously. That doesn't even make sense.
Because you're finite.
No, it's not because I'm finite. It's because when we talk about experiencing a moment, that means at a specific time. That's what it means to experience a moment. It doesn't make sense to experience two moments at one time, because then that'd be two times, not one.
You are a being bound to the time that you were experiencing now.
And, you know, if we're using the meta time argument, then God is a being bound to meta time. God's mental states change with the state of affairs.
Not strictly bound myself to that.
I know, but that's the only way that we've been able to make sense of even slightly what you're talking about. So that's why I keep going back to that, because anything else seems like it's completely incoherent.
You are only capable of fathoming one moment of time. You only exist in one moment of time. That's all you're capable of observing.
What does it mean to experience more than one moment of time?
To observe.
At the same time. What does it mean to experience more than one moment of time at the same time?
To observe everything that is happening in that moment simultaneously. In those moments simultaneously.
So I don't know what that means. Like this seems like an incoherency. Like it seems like if you are so what I could, let's be maximally charitable. I could imagine that like I can see a video of my future while I'm also experiencing now, and like maybe my eyes go in separate directions like a snail, and so like I'm watching one future and then I'm watching the now, and so I'm like seeing both those things happening at the same time. But I have no idea what it means to actually experience multiple moments of time at the same time. Like I could like see it, like I could perceive what it will be like, perhaps. Like I could predict the future or remember the past, right? But when I'm remembering the past, I'm not experiencing the past. I am remembering it, right? That seems like different from what you're trying to say.
Your experience of the past or the future is different because it will never be a full understanding of everything, all of the state of affairs at that moment. Like you can look at.
So then there's so when you say God experiences a time, you just don't mean in any sense that is similar to the way I understand the word experience.
Experience or observing, I think I'm kind of using simultaneously.
Well, so I can observe multiple moments of time, right? I can just go like watch a few different recordings simultaneously of different moments in the past. Like I could if I recorded my day yesterday and I recorded my day the day before, I could play those both right now and observe them simultaneously, right?
You can observe them visually, but you can't observe them in their entirety. You can't observe them emotionally. You can't observe them.
Sure, I could. I mean, so you mean like exist in those moments? No, I couldn't exist in those moments. Because to exist in those moments is to be in those moments. And to be in a moment, you can't be in multiple moments simultaneously, because a moment is There are two different moments. If you're existing in two different moments, then you're not doing them at the same time.
So
because they're different moments.
The distinction here, the only realm of time that exists for you is time with respect to the universe. So you cannot experience multiple states of time with respect to the universe. The state of affairs.
Can God exist? Can God experience multiple states of metatime simultaneously in metatime?
The only state of affairs in metatime, the only thing that changes there is, does the universe exist, does it not?
I mean, God presumably, has thoughts and stuff, and that also changes at different moments of metatime. God doesn't have thoughts?
Christian understanding is that thoughts do not change. He's concrete, unchanging.
Okay, so there are two moments of metatime, let's say, and God is simultaneously in both of them. Simultaneously meaning at one time. So how is he at one time with two times?
If the universe exists or if it doesn't.
Yeah, but I mean that's a way of marking off metatime. So God is both at one time, he is at two times. So it seems like you're saying that he is at one time, or he is at two distinct times at one time.
He is capable of perfectly experiencing everything in state of affair A prior to the universe and state of affair B with the universe existing.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Which one, A or B?
Both at the same time.
So at time A, he is experiencing time A and time B. And at time B, he's experiencing time A and time B.
He's experiencing all of the thoughts, emotions, everything that is entailed in either time, at either time, because he knows exactly what's going to happen.
Well, knowing what's going to happen is different from experiencing what happens.
His understanding is such that he fully understands and experiences all of it.
That's not what you want to say. You don't want to say that. No.
The clearest way I think I can put it.
No, you don't want to say that because clearly knowing is different from experiencing, right?
If experiencing is being aware of all of the relevant factors of an instance, then I don't really think so.
I don't think that that's what experiencing is.
What do you think experiencing is?
Experiencing is when things happen to you or when you happen to things. Experience is an interaction between, the self and the non-self, rather than just an internal awareness.
I don't think there's a functional difference in knowing an event will happen and experiencing the fullness of all the emotional, mental implications of that and actually experiencing it.
I mean, that seems crazy.
Why is that?
Because it sounds like you're saying, if I just knew enough, like let's say I managed to perfectly accurately predict only what 15 years from now, like one specific day 15 years from now, in that I know the exact emotions that will be had, I know the exact and it's only for like a fraction of a second 15 years from now, right? I know exactly what moment, what emotions I will feel, what sense data I will have, and what I'm thinking of at that time. That doesn't mean that I'm experiencing that time. These seem just completely unrelated.
What is the functional difference in the two?
One is a process that relates the self to the external, and the other is merely internal.
You're not having emotions based on nothing. I mean,
No, but knowing about those emotions isn't the same as having those emotions. Like, I can know that someone is angry. That doesn't make me angry.
of course, with respect to you. I mean,
So having the emotion is not the same as knowing about the emotion. Having the sensation is not the same as knowing about the sensation. That's the difference between experience and knowledge. But look, I am 40 minutes over, and the people are getting very angry, and a friend of mine just went live, so I'm going to end the live here, and I'm going to let you go. But thank you for being here, Grayson. I do appreciate it.
Sorry about that.
You know what? Go talk to my friend Ian. He just went live. They just went live. They will love to talk to you, I promise.
I appreciate it.
All right. Take care, man.
You're
fine.
Sorry.
Yeah, don't apologize. It wasn't wasting my time. It wasn't any more of a waste of my time than any of these conversations are. From Tim Bimbadil with the $2. We're going to read some super chats here, by the way. From Tim Bimbadil with the super chat. The AC from the brave little toaster still haunts me. I don't understand that. From Neural Void with the £2, he wants a strong drink first. Oh, I'm super dehydrated. From Git Stanfield with the $10. Dr. Blitz, I had an argument with someone on chat about entropy. Is it accurate to say that entropy deals with the lack of information in microsystems where the macrosystems are not discernible? Yes, that is one way to think about entropy. From Pensive with the $50. That's so sweet, Pensive. Thank you for the $50, and I appreciate you thinking I'm a valuable resource. From Jessica with the $2. Blitz book recommendation, time code 2 hour 35 minutes. That's true. Yeah, I'll hold it up again. From Git Stanfield again with the $10. There are just no good evidence nor arguments for God, at least in my estimation. Whether you want to talk about the ontological argument, fine-tuning the Kalam physical harmony, yeah, I'm roughly of the same view. From Jessica with the $5, all this discussion about timelessness makes metatime makes me feel like I'm in a Doctor Who fan forum discussing the powers and limits of the TARDIS. Yeah, right? From Jack with the $5, crap, it's hard enough keeping track of time zones and daylight savings. Now I need to keep track of UCT, Universal Creator Time, as well. Yeah, you do. That's why you have to wear multiple watches, right? From Binary Ghosts with the $5, the Bible makes this clear. 1,000 days is like a single day to God. Makes sense. The Sims is played in compressed time relative to ours, same thing. Yeah, but that means that God is in time. From Jack Fetter with the $2, speaking of time, feel like it's been 12 hours. It was just over an hour. Don't worry. From Neural Void with the £5, either God's mind changes or it doesn't. Change requires time. If God is timeless, change is impossible, so God's mind must be unchanging. That's roughly the argument. From Helping Maga Deconstruct with the $2, Blitz loses to special pleading again. Rock hard for dogs, simply wet for Sharon. Yeah, that's how it feels. From Binary Ghosts again with the $5, this isn't even a God exists or not exists now. This is a nature of God debate. Well, yeah, but that's important for the whether or not God exists thing. From Helping Maga Deconstruct with the $5, it's crazy how many Christians don't understand basic logic. They will always use special pleading for their idea of a God. Your favorite physics movie? I don't know. I really liked Interstellar. From Neural Void with the £5, God, outside time, unchanging, eternal. Also God, right? New plan, everyone. Ignore that last one, philosophers. Hold on, that violates P4. From Jack Fetter with the $2, I'm fairly sure this argument has slowed time. Yeah, I think it did. From Sir Stroming with the 27 Swedish kroner, do you have a favorite video game? Do you like BG3? I did like BG3 a lot. I haven't played it in a while. Currently, I'm really enjoying KSP right now. From Jessica, Transmetal Alchemist with 20 Australian dollars, my favorite Doctor Who quote. People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. It is really good. It's a great quote. And that's all of the super chats. I'm just going to double check to make sure that we don't have any cash apps, which we do have. We have several. We have $2 from Rob for great content, which is always appreciated. $10 from Grimlock. Unfortunately, my water's empty, so I can't hydrate. And I think that that's all we get. Don't worry about it. I'll be done in 2 seconds. My wife is so sweet, though. She heard me say that my water's empty and she came in to refill it. Isn't she the best? Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Make sure to go, let's go raid Ian, everybody. So go to Ian's live stream and say Blitz raid, Blitz raid. Ian sucks, Blitz rocks. Just say that stuff. And I'll see you guys on Sunday for the Unapologetic Show. We might do some Kerbal Space Program tomorrow too, but don't hold me to that. All right, take care, everybody. See you in Ian's live.